I haven't got a personal vendetta against Michael Jackson. I think, he can dance. I mean, anybody who invents moonwalk is all right by me.
Mike Tyson has Evander Holyfield for the second time, and he is all out of war.
I'll do anything to get on TV.
Genetically, paedophiles have more genes in common with crabs than they do with you and me.
I haven't got AIDS. I'm HIV positive.
Hello, and welcome to Time. I'm JP.
I'm Gareth.
I'm Matty.
And I'm Liam.
And we're back, lads. It's yet another edition of 2003. So if you want to know where we were, come back to the previous episode of August 2003, and you can find out. Because let's face it, it was only, 3 months later. So I don't think too much had bloody changed in that time. And we do November 2003, lads. And there's a reason for it, Gareth. You had the big request for this one in particular, didn't you?
Sorry, I was a diva this month, mate.
Blue M&M's in your private locker room, Gareth. Rose petals when you walk in.
Yeah. I mean, I was obviously, as everybody knows, we get into the 4 pillars of life, capitals, we've got music, we've got film, we've got sport, and we've got TV. And it was TV that was a big one for me. My reasoning for wanting to do November 2003. And if you look behind JP there, you've got a little clue for all you video watchers there, because it's a last ever episode of Brookside, and I saw a couple of months ago that was the case coming up, and it just made me think, you know what, I'd really love to go back and just watch that last episode of Brookside there. So what better way to do it than to shoehorn it into a podcast, as we managed to do. You see something, you want to watch it, might as well make some fucking content out of it, mightn't we? So put it to the lads, and nobody was turning me down there with a trip back to 2003 so quickly. So thanks very much, lads.
That's all right.
All good.
It was the Invincibles year, mate. You're never going to get an issue about me ever saying up till May 2004. This is all good. I'm more than happy with this particular year. But you mentioned you're doing TV, mate. We might as well launch straight into it. Going to go all guns blazing. So, Gareth, head us up. What was going on in TV in November 2003?
I mean, do I start with the main event, or do we do a Roman Reigns and put that main event on first?
That's what we do, Gareth, these days. It's the draw.
Let's start with the draw then. So let's start with my reason for wanting to do this show, and then and do this, and then I'll go. You can do the rest. I'll go to bed. But yeah, so taking you all the way back to November 2003, and after 21 years on air, Channel 4's Brookside was finally coming to an end with its final episode, and it had gone through this spell where obviously ratings had fallen over the years. There'd been like massive changes to the show. It had ended up in late night time slots and things. They changed the quality of the camera footage. A lot of your old regulars had left. A lot of the storylines had become a bit more wild and a bit more out there and varied. And consequently reached the point where I think viewership had dropped so low that the glory days of Brookside were gone. So they were putting the show to bed. And what we've got here building up into the last show is that there has been absolute turmoil on the close running up into this period, with the evil drug dealer Michelson, who's got his place.
What a name! Why not Mickelson?
Hang on. Not for me to jump in here, but do you know why he's got that name, Matty? His name's actual Jack Michelson.
Oh, that's brilliant.
No, you know why? You know why though? You know why? The TV exec that cancelled Brookside and Channel 4 was called Michael Jackson. So this was Phil Redmond. This was Phil Redmond's digging him.
That's unbelievable.
Oh, I didn't know that at all. That is amazing stuff. But anyway, he's terrorising the close. He's selling drugs from his house. He's We had this situation where there's been a lot of the kids and the close and surrounding areas have found themselves, getting older drugs and various stuff happening, and people have had their run-ins with Michelson as they've been trying to, bring him to order. But, a few people on the close had a bit of a good kicking and things like that as well. So he's always managed to get away with it. But, culminating into this episode, we've got, people have seen the last straw. We've got Matty Murray on screen there. Marty's had enough. His son Anthony has ended up in hospital because of drugs. We'll get into Anthony a touch later on. We've got other members of the close, your old stalwarts like your Jimmy Corkills and things like that who aren't happy. Somebody needs to do something about this. And as we start quite early on in this episode, we've got Jimmy Corkill. He's been kidnapped. He's been taken away in a car, and he's been held at gunpoint as he's driving somewhere up the motorway. What are your thoughts on Jimmy's car ride and eventual destination here? I'll throw it to you, JP, first.
I mean, I have to say, I love a good wind-up, and I love a good prank. This one seemed extreme, even by my standards as well. I'm gonna have lads pull guns on you, put you into a car, drive you to Newcastle. Also, and it'll be also, I can propose to your daughter as well. And given the scrapes that Jimmy's been involved in, it seems a bit much. But the big reveal, of course, of it being Barry Grant in there. I mean, I thought it's an interesting way to bring Barry in, who's in pure tweener mode at this stage, isn't he?
I have to throw it to Liam here though, because like when they first go into the room and Jimmy's been blindfolded and he's been taken into the room, and then we just Jimmy's obviously terrified about the situation he's in, and we hear Liam. Speaking to him. What did you make of Barry's Brummie accent there, Liam?
It was me doing the old Ole Anderson Black Scorpion through the old voice box, that was. But I will say I wasn't as much offended as I was by Lindsay Corkill's elocution lesson stage and screen voice that she used after like three years away from the close. A little bit more offended by that.
Big time, didn't she? Coming back to do them a favour, so she had to put that accent on. Liam definitely did. Yeah,
but Barry Grant's accent very poor, somewhere in between. I don't know, Ali Campbell and Frank Skinner. It was very poor.
JP, I reckon if I put you on the spot now, you could do a better Brummie accent, can't you?
Oh, I don't know if I can do. I can't do it there. It sounded vaguely New Zealand there for a second. Give me time. All right.
I thought that was Stu Hart.
Yeah, I'll be honest. I'm not thinking this podcast, but I heard your Roy Keane impression literally before we start, and I thought that was fucking good, JP. I genuinely did.
I've worked on that.
Yeah.
It takes time with this stuff. If I do it, it's like if I do a Liverpudlian accent. I just sound like I'm being just racist, really, in many ways. Just deeply offensive to all other regions, even though I put on this big old Cockney accent when I turn in here, and when I get more into stuff, I become even more Cockney on there. But
do you ever like speak like Claire Sweeney would? When you're trying to impress somebody, or entering back into a realm that you didn't think you would come back to.
Job interviews, yep. I hide the London, and it becomes generic Southern in order to get the job. Then when I'm in, I go right. All bets are off, and yes, there will be foul language that follows here, as they realise they've just employed some geezer to talk to these kids. So.
And you also got a Gareth as well, and Steve McManaman's got that most of it when he does commentary. Raheem Sterling. That's how he says it, doesn't he? There's no need for it. Fucking drive me insane, lad. Fucking hell. Scored in the Champions League final though, Alice, we'll let him off.
Yeah, I was going to say he can get away with it, but yeah. So anyway, as you said there, like Jimmy's reason for being in the northeast kidnapped is because Barry wants to take Lindsay's hand in marriage, and he's got to have Jimmy's permission to do that, of course. After everything Barry's put Jimmy through.
In fairness, that's what Matty did to his father-in-law using it to stare as that as well. The kidnap you and just take you into the Lake District because of the murder.
Okay, wow. Oh.
Sarah said she wouldn't marry me if I actually asked her dad. She says, if you ask your dad, then I'm not marrying you. So I was like, all right, well, there you go.
I mean, the traditions and the, but Jesus Christ. Looks like meant to be the edgy soap, Gareth.
I will say this because it's like, this is on at 10 o'clock at night, isn't it? As well. So it's got that whole...
Later
than that, yeah.
Yeah, later.
Oh,
11 o'clock.
11 o'clock for it.
Yeah.
So the swearing's out, but the swearing's done primarily by
Michelson's dropping F-bombs, JP. Fucking all over the place.
Completely shocked. I mean, I was shocked when they had the slightly remixed theme song as well, but also the drug use. I mean, if you think back to the drug use in EastEnders when Phil's on crack, there's not a pipe in sight. It's more easy. He just seems to be addicted to chain smoking Benson and Hedges, as opposed to like this, where it's like, man, these drugs look somewhat convincing as well. So he's just decided to go all out. Phil Redmond in this episode, and you know what, fair fucks to him. Absolutely deserves to as well. And I think it's an interesting choice as well. You picking this, like particularly for this month being picked, because obviously it's about to make a bit of a comeback, isn't it? There's a bit of a crossover with Hollyoaks. I think Mick Johnson's appearing in that one as well, and
well, this is the thing, because so many of those actors went into Hollyoaks.
Mick's in Hollyoaks, isn't he?
Yeah, I was reading this today that Sinbad's in it, but he's not playing Sinbad. He's playing his Hollyoaks character. Mick Johnson's in it, but he's not playing Mick Johnson. He's playing the character who plays in Hollyoaks. So, you know, hashtag not my Brookside.
Oh, I was going to say, what's this type of like...
Could have done some twin magic, couldn't they?
Yeah.
I was thinking it could be really like the Invasion angle, where suddenly these ECW lads have been portraying like certain wacky characters and they just all turn round when Redmond turns up. And all of a sudden it's like, oh no, he is Sinbad. Like he just decided to go like kind of all in on it.
What, like born again Matt Bourne in ECW?
Oh, well, long story short, they end up in the northeast. Barry hears about Jimmy's troubles. Barry wants to come back to Liverpool, and then you know, he's hearing about what's going on, and Barry's not happy about everything that's happening in the close. So he's keen to get something done about it and get rid of Michelson. And Barry's way of doing that is to take Tinhead to one side and tell Tinhead the story of the Stranger's Field, where back in the day it was somebody who came into the area who people didn't like, then everybody took that person who they didn't like, and they all had a hand in it and killed him and took him away from a field and buried him. So that if they used a club, everyone had a swing of the club. If they used a knife, everyone used the knife to get rid of this person there. So Barry's persuasive skills put a seed in everybody's head by telling one story, as Tinhead Julie tells that story to a couple of other people, and lo and behold, they go away and they make a bit of a plot to how they're going to get rid of Michelson.
JP, sorry to put in, Gareth, but JP, like we were talking about, like mega heels of all time a few months back. I think you said to me, I'm not going to repeat who you said it about, but Barry's portraying like him there because he's not getting his hands dirty himself, is he, JP? He's letting everyone else do it. What's your thoughts on that?
I mean, that's the way you should do it as well. And this podcast, I should add, you know, we're all about nostalgia. It's not about how you should murder someone and try and get away with it. But if you are going to go down this path, then clearly don't do the murdering yourself. Let someone else do it. Now, it didn't work for Charles Manson, in fairness, or Michael Barrymore for that matter. It is. It's an interesting way that they did it as well, because they like hang him out of the window, which seems incredibly public, like something you'd see a fucking Game of Thrones, where it's like you could have just sort of killed him upstairs in the bedroom, and because they're all going to be knocked down, just like leave him there and then fuck off. And all move out and move away, and no one says a bloody word at that stage. There's no ring doorbells in 2003.
The police don't even really bother, do they, JP? You don't even know how to
ask about this. Is there a single question, and they just go, "Oh well, drug dealers, I suppose, isn't it? This is what they get. And just let it fucking slide. Is that the way Liverpool cops are? To see you dealing a bit of lemo, and it's just like, nope, it's not busy o'clock here. We want no fucking part to do with this.
I just reckon they found out his name was Michelson and just thought, fuck him off, lads. Not bothering with that one. I'd be sick of hearing people say that. I'd be trying to correct them myself, honestly.
No, I can't work out if this is brilliantly done or not. In my mind, it's brilliantly done. Like, because you've gone there to JP to where the basically the local residents of the close all gang up and get the black gloves on and get the masks on and what have you, and go around to Michelson's house. And what you get is Bev Dixon just sat watching a bit of stand-up comedy in a house, and then all it's doing is you've just got Bev watching
Brown, or was it just me?
it's of that ilk. But then all you see it's total silence for what's going on at Michelson's house, where you just see shadows of him getting battered in silence as Bev's watching the TV. You're hearing the laughter. Then you see, it's total silence in the house as he's then hung out of the window. And like, I just thought that was really well done there. Just the total silence of everything that was going on in the house. You're not hearing the blows. You're not hearing him squirm and things like that. Is hanging. I thought that was just a brilliant bit of TV. The way that was the way that was shot. I don't know if anyone's got an alternative opinion for me on that one.
I'm very remiss with this episode in the fact of everything I feel is a metaphor for them getting cut off Channel 4. So I think this is something in the terms of, nobody care, or everybody turned a blind eye to us going, and, in the fact of nobody's really said anything, that we're coming off the air after 21 years, and then with the police not showing up, or not even reporters or anything at the end, it's almost like, well, nobody really cares. People's moved on. It's happened. They're on to their next thing now, sort of thing. And I think that runs throughout this episode in terms of there's a lot of sly digs everywhere, and it's just a case of what the message is. I mean, particularly when you get to the finale of it. I mean, why use a scalpel when you can use a chainsaw to get your point across, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. You've throughout this episode, you get Jimmy Corkill, just like he's become some kind of intellectual sage, hasn't he, or something like that? He's like dropping his little things in there about the perils of drugs, and then he's talking to Nicky Shadwick about whether you believe in God or whatever. There's someone up there pulling your strings, and then obviously as Liam says there, just getting into that soliloquy at the end as they're both sat on their sofas, and Jimmy's talking about politicians losing touch with real people, and TV's only been for the ads, and telly used to mean something about what was going on in the world, and it's all about lifestyles, not values these days, and talking about where food comes from and the farms, and
farmers,
how long did the country come to the ground during the fuel shortage, and why can't they control drugs like they do booze or education? It's just like Phil Redmond was just like, give us a pen, hold my beer. Fucking unreal. Jimmy, like petty criminal, drug addict, drug dealer, like scally dog's body Jimmy Corkill. That bit of fucking teaching really helped him out, didn't it?
He really did. I didn't expect him to go into an advocacy for Portuguese-style drug policy of pure legalisation there as well. I mean, he should be turning up on the Jeremy Vine on Channel 5 or something and having this debate with Carol Malone. That feels like the next natural steps for it all. But it's amazing how quickly they all move off. I mean, if I saw, even if it's a bad fella, if I saw someone hanging dead from any of the houses outside of the window, I don't think I'd be up for like, well, chat, we must move on. We'll just drive to work. We'll just go out of it. I'll just go to Aldi and come back and ignore the corpse that's hanging from there as well, as the police decide not to interview a single person on the close as well. It's just like letting the whole thing fucking slide. Incredible.
Can I mention something about Jimmy Corkill as well? There, we've had this with Phil Mitchell over the years on these episodes. You're saying there, Gareth, like, petty criminal and sidekick Jimmy Corkill. What about fucking Lothario Jimmy Corkill? Going through his part like Bev. Remember that time we had a bit over the Nicky Shadwick? How did he end up with it? It's like, how the fuck did this happen? Oh, Dean Sullivan, like, God rest him, though, you know. Honestly, like...
To be fair, mate, to be... Yeah,
He
yeah.
died, JP, yeah, he died, mate, yeah. Not so long ago. I know,
Yeah, a couple of years back.
Should have had a
But-
state funeral, Christ.
I know that it was likened to a lot of the last few episodes of Brookside, but this really could have been called the Jimmy Corkill Show, couldn't it? Everything,
Definitely,
everything runs through Jimmy, and you know, on a whole aspect of this episode, it's somewhat sad to see what Brookside's become, because it's the finale, it's the last episode, and there's about like 8 characters. There's about 8 characters in it, and 2 like locations, the Close and that health club that Lindsay and Barry have up north. There's nothing else to the episode. You can see it's done on a complete shoestring, and something that at times meant so much and was like appointment viewing for it to go out like this. It's watching it again is kind of sad to see.
It is as you said there. It's all the, as you say, Liam, like appointment viewing, but like how cutting edge was it though? Genuinely, and this is like, as you said before, I think it was Gareth when he done the intro to it. It's like, obviously it's shock value, but we've seen it all before. It's sad, you know what I mean? There's nothing to it really, is there? Like, considering, as we said, over the years, all the big like storylines they tackled. Like, it was really, for the time period it was on, like 8 o'clock at night or 8:30. It was so hard hitting, wasn't it? Like when it was at its absolute best, Brookside, and it is, sadly, and I agree with you there, mate.
Well, you just look at how it went out. Like we were saying, this episode, this is the finale, the last episode, and the first showing was 11 o'clock at night on a weeknight. And then even towards the end, where they had filmed episodes to be shown in their usual time slot of prime time in the evenings across the week, they were starting to just do an omnibus as their first showing at like 10:30 on a Thursday night and show all 3 episodes in a bulk, because they just didn't want to give up the real estate of primetime television on Channel 4 to show it, because the ratings had fallen so much. It went from 8 million at its prime, which is the late 80s, to 500,000. That's what the drop off was. It got cancelled when it was averaging 1.5 million, and then towards the end of this, with these last episodes, it was about 500,000 was the average.
Still no Dynamite.
Russo stuff.
Well, if you want to know the real parallel here, I mean, and this is for Patreon listeners, we covered the last of ECW, and my God, the similarities of this being on TNN, rushed off a network that doesn't want them anymore. This is very much like the Hammerstein. Jimmy Corkill's like Tommy Dreamer.
I was going to say Redmond's Heyman to Corkill's Dreamer.
Michelson, it's almost like... It's kind of Rhino-esque how he turns up, except he has to put people over at the end of this as well, isn't it?
Called on the
this
fly.
This bloke is Kid Cash. Like...
Who is he? I've never heard of him. Like...
No idea.
Christian was it? Oh, Christian was his name. God, he was bad though, wasn't he? He was really bad.
Yeah.
Anyway, so it all ends. They all leave the Close, and Jimmy puts a D on the end of the
I love that kind of. I love that.
Side closed. There you go. Good little finish. And we see Jimmy up in the northeast, and he breaks the fourth wall and gives a little wink to the camera there at the end.
Yes, I was crying. I was.
Yeah, the end of an era. But you say that about the budget and the cast and things, but I still like it as a way for Brookie to end. I still like him getting hung out of the window. I thought like that was a Brookie thing to happen, sort of thing. You know, shock. You know, that sort of shock value aspect there. I thought like I quite like from that point of view, and even the right down to the Phil Redmond, Jimmy Corkill soliloquy on the sofas. It was a bit of social commentary there to the end. That, you know, to its death Brookie there, but it wasn't all about Brookie on the soap front this month. We had Corrie as well, and
mate.
I'll throw it to you on this, Matty. But all I've got to say to start this is we start with Jim McDonald's been introduced to Karen with a what about you, Karen?
And safe to say, she's fucking fuming, isn't she? But this, like, I mean, we were going to obviously start with Jim, but we could start with a few other names, Gareth, as well as Cecil. I mean, this was, and we say it a lot, like, this was absolute bona fide classic Coronation Street, this one, Gareth. Genuinely, if like you could just envision, like, as you say, I'm going all over the place. I apologize because it was just so much fucking fun. So Big Jim hasn't he's escaped from prison, done a runner, just wants to see Liz that one last time, like he always does. Liz is up in Blackpool, isn't she? Up in Blackpool. So you know, as you say, he comes to Steve and Karen's flat, and Karen's not happy. Steve obviously going to help his dad, and they try and bundle him in the car. Don't they put the police off, do you mind, in the boiler? Gareth was a good spot. I enjoyed that one. But then I loved it when the fact that they're trying to bundle him in the car the next morning, and Rita's opening the cabin, so you get a few false finishes there, don't you? You do love it, and honestly, just unbelievable. But it's all basically, you get that side story, don't you? It's just to get everyone, basically, as you say, they must have opened the fucking checkbook, shooting on location in Blackpool, because every character, for some reason in the show, has ended up in Blackpool for one reason or another. And it's just golden, though. Like, you've got that going on. I'll pass the relay around here. You've got that. You've got Beth, as I mentioned, tracking down fucking Cecil. What a name, honest to God. I'm sure I remember it was he had a roof rental, Mr. Easley.
It's a Inspector Wexford, isn't it?
It is, that's him, I thought so, yeah. It is. Big star, mate. But you've got Wexford's son, haven't you, as well, who's like, he's seeing Beth for what she's, advertised as being the gold digger that wants to check the old flame down before he croaks it and take his money, where obviously he's got his eye on the inheritance fund. You've got Fred Elliott, going on about is he like always fancy betting away? You had that little hawk, you had Ashley and Claire, who I forgot all about Claire, who's like was the nanny affairs, wasn't she? And Ashley's obviously coming off the loss of Maxine and doesn't want to get involved anymore. And Fred kind of trying to subtly push them together, isn't he? And they end up sharing a bed in a B&B in Blackpool, but obviously nothing happens there. But it's just well threaded, this, I thought, lads. Like, I thought this was so well threaded. Yeah. I see. Sorry, I've got to break again. I'll have to send you
a pack of his sausages, really, isn't it?
There's a compilation of Fred Elliott's noises on Instagram, lads. Honestly, next time I come across it, I'll send it over to you. It's just, it's honestly like, but it's the faces. John Savardin's, what a hero, absolute fucking hero he is. But there's that going on. Yeah,
Liam, you must have enjoyed Jim McDonald at the wheel of a speedboat.
JP, I'm telling you, mate.
I'm gutted I missed this. I'm absolutely gutted.
Yeah, it was almost, we're talking about Hollyoaks and Brookside joining forces. It was almost like Bullseye and Coronation Street joining forces in that scene. But as Matty says, yeah, some great threads going through this. The Cecil that Matty refers to is Cecil Newton of the famous Newton and Ridley Brewery.
Is that why he's got the wedge?
Yeah, that's why he's got the money. Yeah, that's why he's got the money.
See, Corilla.
Who's played by Inspector Wexford. Yeah, there is that. Something I did notice on this. Did you notice the boat? You see what the boat was called, Matty? The boat that was owned by Newton from Newton and Ridley. Did you see what it was called?
No, what was it?
Last Orders. Like that.
That's superb. That is superb.
but also something to bring up. I've seen in this where they're moaning about the price of fish and chips. Fish and chips, £6.50. Little did they know what the world was going to become at those prices. if that was an argument point. But yeah, all in all, a great episode, and made even better by Liz McDonald, who's in great form in this episode, I must say.
And she always.
I mean, I tell you what. I mean, this wasn't fucking at 10:30, 11 o'clock at night when Jim first sees Liz, lads. I'm telling you, I thought it was going to get a bit fucking it was playing with fire for sure there, lad.
Yeah, I thought he was going to get little Jim out.
Not so little on Charlie Lawson, I'll tell you that. That's not
well, yeah. I mean, obviously with Brookie, we got Corrie there with the classic, with the classic Jim McDonald's Prisoner's Cape, and then go ahead, Matty.
Just like honestly say this about wrestling, like when we like to say track matches down. If you're a classic soap fan, genuinely, and you're coming across this podcast or you're a patron, go and watch this episode of Corrie genuinely because it's classic. As we keep saying, Coronation Street, you'll have just the best time. Fucking hilarious, dramatic, everything you want. Steve McDonald as well. Just he's got to be one of the best of all time, lads. Like characters, just unbelievable stuff. Just go and check it out.
Oh, pure. But
organic.
I don't know what that episode JP was been shown for the entire time, but was
that not the episode? No, it wasn't. It was the very beginning.
Not
Keep
what I was
wearing this one.
Oh dear. It'll do. You get the general vibe, folks. Come on.
I thought I'd leave it and not put in as a bit, but then just time's running out on the older TV here, so it's a quick one on EastEnders. But if we're talking about classic characters on Brookie and on Corrie, on EastEnders, we've got Dirty Den and we've got Phil Mitchell doing an armed robbery. Like again, the fucking big guns are out in November 2003.
It's a funny one, this one, isn't it? Because it's weird. It's a double episode, but it's primarily based really just around like kind of 5-6 characters. So you've got this whole subplot as well with Den and Phil going to be doing an armed robbery. Plus, you've got Phil's wife, who
on a phone.
I can't remember. Yeah. Oh my god, yeah. Proper
game of Snake on that.
That was running off there, and I'd Vicky asked me, going, "Have you got a Nokia?" And you've just never told me this. It's like, no, this is Phil Mitchell's. And then you've got Phil's new wife, who, as we've covered previously, played by the same actor who had an affair with Martin Platt, didn't she?
Jill Halfpenny.
Jill Halfpenny has that affair with Martin Platt. So she's done her work through the territories, isn't she? Like Rick as well.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. And Phil's ex can't get to see their daughter. Sharon's getting involved in it as well at the same time. There's like a cameo at the end with Den's son in there as well. The names are just escaping me on
Dennis, is it?
Dennis. Nigel Harmon.
Nigel Harmon.
Yeah.
He was the pin up where he was the
housewife's favourite.
Housewives, Gareth. 18 to 60 boxed office. Very rare. Very rare, them guys.
But it's all about the swerve. It's all about the swerve that Den does in this as well, where he's just it's all about stitching up Phil for what he did to Sharon and stitching him up there for armed robbery. All while Phil is meant to be babysitting? Is he? Oh no, he's not.
He's supposed to be going on a date, isn't he?
He's going on a date and he's getting Ricky.
He looks terrible. Who's dating him? Yeah, he looks fucking awful.
I vaguely remember that the character that Jill Halfpenny plays is an undercover police officer.
Oh yeah.
She's working in like the nail salon, and basically they're trying to fit up Phil. And it's quite a good interweave storyline. This is, but just by the by, we've now moved on so much in time. Is this all of our Sam Mitchell now, or are we still Daniela Westbrook Sam Mitchell?
No, is her name Kim Metcalf?
That's Kim Metcalf, yeah.
Yeah, that's my hashtag Sam Mitchell. Yeah.
Hashtag not my Sam Mitchell.
Lads, come on.
It'll always be Westbrook. With or without a nose. Always will be Westbrook.
Can I also just point out the cameo that's in this episode is one of the heavies from the firm that comes to see Den and gives him the details about the place he's planning to break into with Phil. Eddie Santini from The Bill, big star.
I'm gonna have to. I will be seeing Joe very soon. I'm gonna ask him about. The name Eddie Santini's come up in many a conversation.
He plays the role of Andy Hunter in this, but yeah, it's Eddie Santini from The Bill.
Oh my god! Like,
didn't Johnny Allen finish him off, Liam?
Yeah,
Johnny Allen just threw him off the bridge, didn't he?
Yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, big month.
This one.
Big month in Soapland. Phil getting the dirty done on him by Dirty Den at the end there with the. Leaving him to take the rap and get banged up as Den's trying to help out Lisa there. So yeah, 3 quality episodes of the soaps this month, but one last TV show just to throw on just before we move on to the next subject. And the last one is it the first ever episode of Eggheads, the quiz, which I've got to be honest, never watched myself at the time and haven't watched it today. I was surprised to find myself immediately recognising Judith Keppel from Who Wants to Be a Millionaire as one of the Eggheads there. The premise being that you get 5 quiz champions from across TV shows going up against 5 normal fellas, kind of a bit like the precursor to The Chase or something like that they've got mapped out here. But I mean, as a quiz, not the best, I didn't think. I don't know if I was a bit disappointed by the multiple choice rounds that they had to go through.
I don't like multiple choice.
I thought favouring people here. I thought I don't want to see people guessing. I want to see people knowing kind of thing. So as I was driving to town today with that playing on my phone in between my legs, I was managed to still be
sticking to it.
Who said national radio's dead?
But the guy, there was a good bit of like infighting here, as one of them said that he was still the global mastermind champion, and then the guy who was the current mastermind champion sort of pulled him up and said, yeah, but they haven't had the global one since 1983, so that's why you're still the global one. So there was a good little bit of infighting amongst the eggheads there. Just a bit
passing of the torch there.
It's a bit NWA international title, that isn't it? Really,
it's proper award-winning chip shop award. This isn't it? It's a very much a grey area.
If he went on Japanese Mastermind and defended it there in Tokyo, then I'll at least have a bit more credibility to it. But
6 stars there, JP.
I'll just kick back slightly on what Gareth said about this. I've always liked Eggheads because I think it came along at this time in 2003 where a lot of TV was moving in the direction of reality TV, and quiz shows had to have that element of a game within it. That quiz shows, literally questions being asked, kind of died off. It almost became activity shows were the commonplace on TV in place of quiz shows. And I think something like Eggheads come in and it kind of replaced something along the lines of 15-1 or so, the G1 of quiz shows, as we said.
One of the greatest shouts of all time, JP. Genuinely, that I'm not blowing smoke, mate. That's one of the best shouts I've ever heard in my life.
But it's actually questions being asked rather than here's a question, run around a climbing frame, get a gold star, come back and answer the question as you would have the last question, rather than what the answer to this is. It's just straightforward quiz, isn't it?
It is, and it was never a show that I was massively into. It was something that I would see occasionally, just in case I was back from work at that particular point in time. It's like, oh, okay, I can watch this because it's easy going, and it was a quiz show. I mean, there's something about this as well. I think, is it at this point in time a channel like Channel 4 is the only one who have it kind of fitted in very nicely into the idea of these just like long running serial quiz shows that would just be on during the day, but filling that important, like it's now pointless pretty much is in this kind of like spot, isn't it? Where it becomes a bit of a tradition, and then you get your celebrity versions and everything else in there. But what I liked about this episode, I have to say, is not the biggest Eggheads fan, is it's the way it's like first episode, it's like, right, we have to show that the other team can win it. They have to sell enough for them to the Eggheads, but also ultimately win. So it is like, it's Ric Flair in Puerto Rico, isn't it? Like, I've got to show a bit of arse here. Like we've got to lose a couple of people,
literally as well,
or they could win, and then they end up obviously coming back and winning as well at the same time. But they've showed enough danger there before the very weird bit over the end credits where they say, well, this is where I went to university, and one of this bloke here with the sideburns, he's like kind of 4.0 levels. That tells you about the state of British education. It's like, look, education is one thing. Memorizing stuff from quiz books is an entirely different beast.
Do you think they're not sideburns? They're all over burns, then, mate. Jesus Christ, they're fucking
He's more Sydney than man, isn't he?
And I will say, Eggheads, like, bit of credibility with Dave McMahon there as the host, bit of solidifying your status there. But The other thing I'll say about Egghead is that he's one of my favourite Batman villains of all time. Vincent Price. I will throw that one in there for an old school shout.
I also
But,
need to put the shots of some of these contestants from the Motormen team.
I was going to say before we move on, that's a bit of GP. I've got a little quiz of my own here. As we've got the punters here, the Motormen, who I think they were from the Ford garage in the Ford factory in Essex. So we've got the first one here, and what's his? How old do you reckon that lad is? Number one.
Go back, JP.
Back, JP.
Go back, JP.
Yeah.
How old is he, Gareth? Right, if any of these are under 40, I mean, I reckon he's. I've got it already.
Has he got an earring? That's suspicious. Could be suspiciously young.
I reckon he's 40, Gareth.
Oh.
I'm going to say logic says 46.
Yeah, I'm going to stay with 40 with Matty. I think he's.
Oh, well, I'm a bit disappointed with that because he's 43, and then when I saw him, I was like, he's 4 years younger than me, and with his total white head of hair. I was like, I was absolutely fuming. Next,
Gareth, did we drink from the cup of eternal life out of fucking Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade or something? Because Jesus, how am I 4 years older than this fella?
Next, JP.
He's got to be older. So if he's 43, he's got to be 45, 46. I'll go 46 again. He's got to be.
40. I'm going to go. I'll split the difference. Go 45.
47, but again, same age as me and JP.
Outrageous.
Maybe I'm deluded. Quick, next two.
He looks like the bloke who fitted my bathroom and kitchen back in the day.
I reckon he's a bit younger than the last. Gareth, he must be about same age as the first, about 43.
Well, that's Baz Rutten, isn't it? So I'm going to Google this.
I'm going to go. He's doing inside MMA after this. 38. I'll go. We'll go with something outrageous.
Young.
No, I'm going to go a bit older. 45.
40 dead.
Oh, Jesus. I'm a year off that.
And then your last one.
He looks like a hybrid of Boris Johnson in the eyes and nose. I think genuinely does. And then Bill Clinton as well.
I was going to say Paul Daniels, but
oh my God.
Jesus.
45 again.
Yeah, I'd say 45, JP. Like a nice
I'll go with the other two, yeah.
47.
You got it. We needed a picture of you two side by side.
You see, this didn't go as well as I thought, because when I saw these lads, I literally spat out my team, and that first one said 43, and I was looking at them thinking they were all 54-year-old fellas kind of thing. And everyone younger than me, and you guessed everyone younger than me. So fuck off.
It's fucking scandalous.
What a way to end television. Looks like it's time for sport, Liam.
Yeah, and if nothing else is going to cheer you up, how we lead into sport is down to.
Gareth's favourite this.
England made history being the first Northern Hemisphere team to win the Rugby Union World Cup. Led by Captain Martin Johnson and Clive Woodward, the team battled past Wales and France in the knockout stages to host Australia in the final, with the scores tied 17-17 to send the match to extra time. Johnny Wilkinson hit a drop goal in the dying seconds to score England a 2017 victory. Now, I'm going to be kind here. I'm going to say JP's probably got more memories and love for this than the rest of us on the panel. So I vaguely remember this, obviously being in Australia, being very early morning games and pubs being open and people stumbling out of pubs at about 9:30 after England had played games, absolutely pissed out of their head. Were you one of those people, JP?
So I wasn't, because I'm an Ireland fan. And Ireland whether they got to the quarterfinals.
Yeah.
And I want to say that they ended up losing to France quite handily. But I obviously watched this game as the final, because England at this point in time were outrageously good. They had absolutely annihilated Ireland and Dublin to win a Grand Slam. They'd won a series away that summer in New Zealand, and that's beating New Zealand in New Zealand, and that's when you're like a proper side. And they went there and they won it well. But it's always been this thing with playing Australia. Like Australia just had this knack of turning up when it comes like the big occasion for this. And it was kind of like a big deal. It was always very weird. It was on ITV because ITV for a very long time just didn't show rugby out, but they just had the rights for the World Cup. So it was like this odd sensation. But then I was also like, it was just like, it just felt like it was like a massive, massive deal. And I didn't have kids then. Seemed like a very distant dream. You just seem to have always had them ever since I was a toddler. I think I always assumed I had at least 2 sons. But there was like, it was one of these games. It was a bit nip and tuck. That referee I met because I worked where I went to university was it was near Twickenham, and I lived near Twickenham. I used to go to the big Tesco's near there to do my weekly.
Those are the big test matches.
It is. And then I would go to I worked in a pub, and that referee came in there. He was doing one of the autumn internationals in there as well. And I was just like, "Oh, you're the referee, aren't you?" And he just gave me this weird look along with, and these blokes used to play rugby. So they're all big fuckers. They may not look it on this screen, but they are. And I was just like, "Oh, mate, have a good game." And stuff like this, and had a quick chat. So I spoke about George Gregan, the Aussie fly half as well. And then he came back in later on. He was properly pissed as well. He'd gone on a right session. It's a draw against New Zealand and gave me a Springbok badge, which I promptly lost, but I was never that bothered because I'm not exactly a South African fan. So, like, he was all right, Andre Watson, and it was a big deal at the time. But obviously, Gareth will say that this is just like absolute bollocks. Like Jason Robinson, you'd be a big fan of, Gareth, no?
Oh, he was an absolute speed demon, wasn't he? Jesus Christ!
Before Gareth vents, I'm just going to give a couple of my memories about this. I remember the criticisms about it being with Clive Woodward being head coach, that it was very attritional, boring, positional rugby that a lot of purists didn't really like it. A lot of it was based around Wilkinson's kicking game. And ultimately, the team was made up of a load of veterans. So once they won this World Cup, the whole team had to be broken down and rebuilt. And it took them years to rebuild, sort of thing. Clive Woodward's always been someone I'm always interested in because he, by all accounts, took so much from American sports. He always used to go to Miami Dolphins and go to the US to see how NFL teams would set out their stall in preseason. And he's always likened that to a reason why he was able to come back with the mentality of fitness being key for the rugby side, something that wasn't done at that point. But yeah, it's rugby union. I remember it at its time being this massive event. I remember Sports Personality of the Year, them all getting an award. It's all a bit, yeah. And just to point out, as JP alluded to, it's again one of these sporting events which I love to bring up, where people see it as this great David and Goliath story, that England went into this tournament as joint favourites with Australia. So this great victory that not a lot of people were expecting is not exactly the truth of the story. It wasn't like they went into it like 8 favourites and defied the odds in the Southern Hemisphere. They were very favourable in terms of the team that they put out for this tournament. Gareth, you're on the clock.
This is, without a question, one of the worst days of my life. Like literally, if you asked me last week what are the top 5 worst days of your life, I definitely would have said this. Like even if this wasn't on the list for this show, like I can't even begin. Like at this time period, I was such a militant rugby league fan, and like part of that is just the hatred of rugby union and everything that rugby union stands for, the bias in the press, the everything that they'd gone through in previous years, where they'd like held rugby league down, banning people from ever playing rugby again if they ever played rugby league and things like that, right back to the war and the fucking Vichy government stealing all of the French rugby league's funds and things like that. So this build up, this culmination to this day when everybody suddenly felt like they were a fucking rugby union fan. Like, like this was the first time that rugby union ever felt like it was treated like football or something like that across the UK with the way it was built up for this match. But then also just the way that people reacted to it and reacted to the win. Like, these cunts were absolutely everywhere. They were on fucking every TV show under the sun, on the front of every newspaper, and like it was like I couldn't escape it, and it was like literally dark times. And then so I've seen that drop goal a million times because it's unavoidable, but I've never seen anything else of this match. And then I watched it and I was like, oh, Lottie Takiri, rugby league player, scores a try for Australia. Oh, let's go down the other end. Oh, Jason Robinson, rugby league player, scores the only other try in the game. And like right in line with everything I hate about rugby union as well. The old kick and clap sport. Every other point in the final, someone fucking kicking a ball from somewhere, from miles out over the posts. No fucking running with the ball. No tries. No fucking passing. No, just a load of fucking fat lads falling on top of each other and people booting it down the pitch and then booting it over the posts, and then that fucking prick lifting that cup there, like in there, and everyone then suddenly calling it the Rugby World Cup, even though the Rugby League World Cup happened before the Rugby Union World Cup ever did as well. Fucking bollocks, the whole thing of it. Hate it.
It was, you mentioned about the NRL thing as well. There would always be the thing where, like, particular in Australia, it's even happening today, Australian rugby union always in crisis, very low down the totem pole behind NRL and AFL, and even to a certain degree football. And like their solution is always, let's get a lad from league who's young and we'll just pay him an absolute fortune to go over there. So they've signed a lad from the Roosters to go over, and it is their way of getting out of it. I mean, it's funny because I love union, but I also I love rugby league. Like, rugby league is the better of the sports. I kind of agree. You kick on tackle, you tick on tackle 5, maybe 4 if you want to go and test the defenses and stuff. But like, yeah, you're not the idea. It was that kind of attritional rugby, and weirdly enough, it still is kind of like that today. There really isn't a whole lot of difference. It's how South Africa have maintained a level of dominance of just like attritional forward packs, kick for corners. Ireland do it these days as well. I can see what you mean, just in terms of the general play and skill levels.
Just a day out for investment bankers and things, isn't it? Down at Twickers that they can put on expenses.
Yeah, having worked in Richmond, mate, it absolutely fucking is. I wouldn't disagree with that in the slightest.
So what I can take away from that is that Gareth's more Jonathan Thurston than he is Johnny Wilkinson.
Jonathan Thurston's done a voice on Bluey. Like, that's not to be fucking sniffed at.
Untouchable.
Exactly. Fucking glorious.
I'm more Jeffrey Dahmer than Johnny Wilkinson.
And I would say my favourite conversation I am always privy to when rugby union, English rugby union side do something worthwhile is that, the kicker could play in the NFL. If he went to the NFL, Johnny Wilkinson, he'll be the best kicker of all time. Not taking into consideration that 11 men, about 300 pounds, would be rushing towards him, while in union everybody stands back and watches him take the kick, while the whole stadium goes quiet. You know,
no Pat McAfee, is he, Liam?
There's no Pat or Gavin Hastings, Scottish Claymore's legend, either.
Or Rhys Zammit, who went over from Wales.
Yeah, Rhys Zammit as well. But yeah, I think that sums up the Rugby World Cup, and I think that's our rugby union talk for the next 3 years. Let's move on to football. Premier League in November 2003, and this is a season known as the Invincible season. Now, it'd be wrong of me not to take this straight over to JP, who, at this point in time, I believe Arsenal had won 13 games, or had been undefeated in 13 games.
Yeah.
Towards the end of this month. So yeah, JP, take over. Tell me about this.
We drew a good few games as well at this point in time. It just, like say, we weren't losing, and it's still something to this day. I have to wait for every other team to lose, even Crystal Palace. I'm dating the recording of this. And when they lost, I was like, oh, thank God. That's another year. It's nice and safe. No one can do invincible stuff for it. But I think I wasn't thinking that way at this point in time, because it was still it was still we were kind of into still 2-horse race territory. Chelsea hadn't had we didn't have Jose Mourinho, for example, arrive. We hadn't had the Abramovich buyout. City were still a basket case. They weren't in that place. Liverpool all over the place at this stage. I think the really shocking story for this particular one is as much about the fall of Leeds and how Leeds, was it 2 years previously, were in a Champions League semi-final on this. I remember this beating of Chelsea 2-1.
Crespo scores a worldie, though.
He
Oh,
does.
yeah, this Crespo
Absolute
goal.
worldie.
He does on this one, which he did fuck all else. That was the thing. He was never a player suited for English football in the slightest. But then, yeah, there's old big mad Jens.
It's weird with Crespo, though, because he does this season, as you say, this is the first season where they just spend, it's silly in it, like Joe Cole, everyone comes in, they spend ridiculous amounts of money for the time, especially, and finish second to use JP, don't they, with Ranieri.
Yeah.
And then Crespo goes to Milan, doesn't he, Gareth? Because he scores 2 against us in the final, the Champions League. But then people forget he goes back to Chelsea the season where they conceded 05-06, and he won the league with them. He played for them as well, a lot that season. People forget that with him. But as you say, not maybe tailor-made for the Prem, JP. But what a fit. He's always one of those strikers about him and Inzaghi where he could score the shittest goal.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd celebrate like it was the best goal ever or the first goal they'd ever scored. I love them type of strikers. I just fucking love it every time. These proper strikers, though. Love it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, yeah, it's a strange state of affairs. I mean, you could see it on the league table there earlier on. It was very much set up as
Blues doing well there.
A 3-horse race.
Charlton above us, though. Charlton in fifth. Charlton were in fifth and we were sixth.
But they were all Gareth. Caves always started well. When it got to Christmas, they just finished about 12. They always plummeted, keep them up, and then just,
Yeah. I love that Leeds fan, though. They're talking about the demise of Leeds. You were in Europe 2 years ago, at the bottom of the league, £100 million in debt. And he's like, yeah, but we're Leeds and we'll support, we're not fair weather. We'll support the club, even if they go down, probably. So he's giving it the big one and then probably. Classic Yorkshire.
The 3 teams that got relegated that season, Leeds, Wolves and Leicester. Was that right?
Yeah.
They're the 3 teams that went down. Yeah.
Leicester. I remember Dickov was there for them then.
Yeah, shame about Wolves. Yeah.
Your football, supportship, is that a way of making that up? Liam never shines through, really, mate. That come out here.
Yeah, so sometimes it has its moments, doesn't it? But yeah, in other footballing events of the time, there was a Scotland versus Netherlands Euro 2004 qualification playoff that took place. In the first leg at Hampden Park, Scotland stunned the Dutch 1-0 after a goal from James McFadden. However, in the second leg at Amsterdam, Netherlands produced a dominant performance, beating Scotland 6-0 with a hat-trick from Ruud van Nistelrooy, sealing the qualification. Now, I remember this. I remember Scotland winning this 1-0, and I remember the furore that was going around that Scotland were going to the Euros and they had beaten the Netherlands. And then I also saw the disappointment when they got beat 6-0 in the second leg. But
I love
Gareth.
that.
Gareth, do you remember this? Sorry, Matty, jump in.
No, can I? Sorry, mate. I love that, though. You've won the first leg 1-0. Let's go into the second leg, lads. Let's try and keep it tight. Let's try and beat 6-0. It's like fucking hell, lads.
Holland scored the same goal about 3 times as well. Exactly the same goal.
Oh, it's typical. It's like Celtic heartbreak in the Champions League all the time. Scotland heartbreak all the time. You know what I mean?
Where is the man on the near post there? It's like you can jump for it, mate, to head it out as well.
Look at this. Where's the defender on their arse? No, we need the ball.
I remember this. I was watching this in a pub with a Scotland fan, my mate Andy, and it was it hit 5, and he went, "I'm leaving. I've had enough. I don't want to watch this anymore." I was like, "Yeah, fair enough, mate. I can completely get your point." But it was one of those but then when you watch major tournaments,
I remember after the first leg, that is what I remember, the 1-0 win, and them thinking like it was like we go in like you know, and it whoa, gotta go away to Holland. Like
Yeah.
Was
This is
was Bertie Vokes the Scotland manager at this time as well? He was, wasn't he?
was,
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Yeah,
bloody hell there. That's a shout.
yeah.
Oh, Bertie.
Who was the Dutch manager? Koeman or Rijkaard? One of them. Or Van Gaal.
It was Dick Advocaat there, I think.
Yeah, one of the
Yeah,
four
Dick
that got
Advocaat.
a revolving door in it.
Who then went to Rangers, didn't it?
Yeah.
Doing one of those weird ones, but
I couldn't put a year on it though. Like you looked at the Dutch scorers and like Van Nistelrooy was getting a hat trick, but then like Frank de Boer scored.
Frank de
and,
Boer
like,
still did.
I was like, what? They were like trying to match them ears up in my head, and then you had Andre
Schneider as well,
Uja
didn't he?
scored, who went
He
to
was-
Blackburn and stuff. Like it's just you're like
The
"Right, he
Boer
was playing."
screamed 90s, Gareth, done he? Like proper 90s.
he was
like,
a child when they won it with Ajax.
to be
They
fair,
were like
JP, yeah.
Team of fucking children when they.
But was
beat
it a
Juventus.
Mandela effect? I have there because so I forgot to mention earlier on. I had a Mandela effect in Brookie because I thought Barry Grant actually killed Michelson.
I did.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
that.
I did.
But with
Yeah.
this as well, did Frank de Boer ever join Ronald de Boer at Rangers? He didn't, did he? I'm sure it was just
God,
Ronald.
no.
Only
Yeah.
Ronald, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, not even for like a 6-month loan or something, or a 6-month contract with Frank. I just had that because they always played together everywhere, didn't they? When you think about it, and maybe didn't fancy going to Rangers. But yeah, sorry, that's just my Mandela effect for everyone. But yeah, Scotland keeping it tight, Gareth. I love it, mate. Oh, does.
So,
But
yeah,
it's like in the
so that-
pen game, Charlie. You train all week, like you do the strategy, and you get beat 6-0. It doesn't make sense, does it? Though?
Should we practice crosses, corners, or practice just like clearing the bottom now?
This is it, JP.
Let it slide.
So what you
I'm
say?
doing keepy ups for the next hour.
So what you saying, Matty? 11 men in front of the ball. Nobody's get past.
This is it. This is it. Just actually try and hold on to what you've got. Genuinely.
The thing is, though, Matty, in 2003, nobody had ever heard the term low block.
No, low block, no. High press, none of this guy. And all this didn't exist, did it?
High press was a
Oh.
whiskey you drank on a fucking Tuesday after training. Mate, wasn't it?
Is that like a weight training method as well? High press? I don't know.
Oh, I think they were all on the pasta and creatine at this point, thanks to Arsene Wenger. So,
Yeah. But yeah,
Yeah.
JP, sorry, mate. Back to the Invincibles. Great season, as I say. And you never ever. I have had a neck oil here, lad, so maybe that's why I'm a bit all over the place. But JP, you're safe as houses, mate. That'll never get broken in the Premier League, as
don't
far
ever
as we're
fucking-
alive,
now you
anyway.
fucking jinxed
No,
it.
mate, I'm telling you.
You have.
As long as
You
it's in our
said it now.
lifetime. No,
Once
never.
I'm
No,
dead, it can go.
Yeah.
I don't care. No,
Pep
no,
was
no
the only
skin in
one.
game, then.
that could have done it for me. No one else.
Yeah.
No one else. You're safe, JP.
No, so that will conclude the football section, and as I usually do in here, I will talk about a few fights of the era. First one, Roy Jones versus Antonio Tarver 1. Roy Jones makes his return to light heavyweight after beating John Ruiz for the WBA heavyweight championship. To face Antonio Tarver for the belts that he vacated by moving up at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas. Jones, who starts off sluggish and is noticeably marked up by Tarver, rallies in the final rounds to win a controversial decision on the cards. Now, just away from the fight in general, this, in my mind, is a bit of a dark period for boxing in terms of its mainstream acceptance and its mainstream popularity is somewhat on the wane. We're pretty much before the era of Hatton so much that Hatton was going abroad and taking a big crowd with him, and he was a pay-per-view fighter. Calzaghe was staying at home fighting mandatory challengers, so the fan base for Calzaghe wasn't necessarily where it would be in a couple of years from now. Lewis is retired. You know, Lewis was the heavyweight champion, and he was kind of the guy everything went through at that point in time in terms of British popularity with boxing. So a lot of these fights, like for instance this, I mean, Roy Jones had just gone to heavyweight, beat John Ruiz for the heavyweight title, and then went down to light heavyweight to fight Antonio Tarver for the belts that he vacated. Now, if you see that written down, that a guy moved up to heavyweight from light heavyweight, the first guy in however many years had done that, he was considered at this point consensus for about 8 or 9 years the best pound for pound fighter in the world. Yet this fight wasn't available on UK TV till 5 p.m. on the following Sunday at the end of Grandstand.
That's
And
wild, that, Liam.
just
Wild.
saying that in terms of how boxing was perceived at that point, whereas now if this fight wasn't shown live by some means in this country, there would be outrage because of what it signifies. But anybody have any thoughts on that in terms of like 2003 or the beginning of the 2000s, in terms of what they remember in terms of boxing, who the bigger names were or so?
Yeah.
Sorry, go on, mate.
No, go ahead, mate. Go ahead, you go first.
I was going to say that was the thing that come to mind. Is it feels like it's a dark time. It feels like we don't have that explosion in British boxing in particular, which I have to say kind of still very much exists today, to the point where you mentioned about TV nations, that Boxer have got their deal with the BBC. It feels like any fight in any arena is going to get a kind of like a sellout. It feels like there's a big fight happening in the UK pretty much once a month at the very, very least, if not twice a month. And it's going to sell out. And there's like hometown heroes. There's like this whole regional investment in boxing. So Roy Jones moving up to heavyweight always felt like a gimmick. It just felt like we need to just push someone into this, and Roy Jones Jr. is going to be the guy that we do, just for the hope of it being kind of like saved. And it wasn't a pit, because I mean, I'll watch a fair whack of boxing, but like at this point in time, it just like it was hard to be invested. Like you say, in some ways, right or wrongly, the heavyweight division being that standard bearer felt like it was as weak as it kind of ever had been, or the weakest it had been for a while. There was sort of no depth in the challenges. What I would say about this particular fight, watching the highlights, this was fucking great. This was proper all action, like in here as well. And I felt so sorry for Antonio Tarver. Like in this, I didn't watch the whole fight, so you did get the impression that Roy Jones has done enough to win those rounds towards the end as well. But you just look at Tarver, like just those particular periods where Jones has got his gloves up here and he's just sort of blocking away, and it looks like he's going to punch himself out several times, and he just never does. But is this the point? It's like Tanahashi getting into New Japan. You've had like the dark days of Inokiism, of like, you know, around the place, and it just feels like, is it from this point onwards that everything starts to kind of pick up between Pacquiao, that we'll talk about as well.
Well, Liam, this reminds me, I've mentioned before, like me mate Joey, who's like I always mention you to him and speak to him about you, Liam, because like he just, his favorite golf and boxing are his favorite two sports, but he absolutely loved it. And this just takes me to the time where like, I was becoming his friend in school properly, and like just going to his, and he'd just be obsessed. Remember like the boxing news, Liam? He'd buy that every week. He'd have all the Ring magazines, and as you say there, mate, because I didn't realise until you said it then, I was like, well, yeah, it wasn't available like it would be now, or in like 2 or 3 years time with Sky Sports, and Satanta got it for a bit, and all different variations down the line, Box Nation, whatever you want to throw in there. Like it was more like, as you say, that American, like we say, like you have to go and like imagine living there and watching this, and that's the vibe you got, because he went to a few of these fights at this time, Liam. Like the boxers I remember from this year is like Burrell and Morales. He was his favourite. He loved Roy Jones, but his absolute favourite of all times, Oscar De La Hoya. He was upset. I didn't know who he was, and when he was naming it, who's he? And he was just showing me, literally getting the after mags or the power slams, seeing wrestlers in there you never seen. He was showing me pictures of Oscar De La Hoya. I've never seen this fella in my life. And he was saying, oh, he's the biggest star, he's the biggest, and all that. Like, and this is years before I knew who he probably was, or even seen him. And then when I eventually did see De La Hoya, he was at the end of his career, really, wasn't he? By the time he got all them fights, so it just takes me back to that time, really. This period of boxing.
Yeah, I wondered if it was just like I always just wondered if it was a bit of a personal dark period for me with boxing when like we were like looking at this, because like while I would never consider myself a hardcore boxing fan, I was a big enough boxing fan that I'd watch like every big fight that had probably happened throughout the 90s and stuff like that was on TV, on Sky. If something was on pay-per-view at that point, I would have bought it if the fight was big enough. But then I'm just dead familiar with all these names, like your Pacquiao and Barreras and things like that, despite like Jones, despite never watching these fights. So it's weird. I almost feel like their names were still considered a big deal, or they were familiar, but I don't know, you felt like you just didn't see them, and maybe it is. I've never thought about it, but maybe it is that British factor. Maybe it's just the fact that there wasn't a Brit who was in there
No
in the
one
mix
was
with
there.
them, so they weren't getting the same mix. But I'm the same as JP. Like, I watched the 10-minute highlights of this fight, and then when I got to the end of it, I was like, oh, I wish I'd had time to watch the full fight there, because like some of them body shots that Tarver was hitting, I was just like, oh, fucking loving a bit of that. And then like at the end of that, the round 7, the fucking hell, the big stuff that they were both landing against each other there, and a bit of showboating going on in between and things like that. It was just like
Good heel
pure
work.
entertainment. I loved every fucking minute of that, of them 10-minute highlights. Like, such good stuff. Really enjoyed it.
Liam, can I ask you one thing though, mate? This sums me mate Joey at the time. He was a big fan of Roy Jones' rap album as well, mate. He absolutely fucking loved it.
I was a bigger fan of Roy Jones, the boxer, than the rapper. But generally, as you guys said about this time, it very much played to the point there wasn't a British fighter. For me, which sounds very similar to your friend Matty, is that this is my favourite period of boxing.
Yeah,
your Hopkins, your De La Hoya, your Mosleys, your Roy Jones, and that. And I think what also lends itself in is that we as in Britain have just come out of the super middleweight era, where you had your Ben, you had your Collins, you had Eubank, which you can hear about on previous episodes of Time. Check the archives. A lot of them fighters didn't fight the best guys in America. So Roy Jones never fought a Nigel Benn or Eubank. Hopkins didn't fight. James Toney didn't fight any of them. So there was never that crossover point. You can argue that in this country, Floyd Mayweather only became a bigger star as he was is when he beat Ricky Hatton. Yeah. Because people had that public crossover with knowing who Ricky Hatton was. And if this guy's beaten the guy we've loved for so many years, he must be good, sort of thing. Yeah. But this period, as you say, it was very...
And then the Big Show.
I was going to mention big one over the show over here in Hanston.
And the big show as well. But just generally talking about this fight and summing up on this is that at the time, a lot of people thought Tarver won. Jones got the decision. The story behind this, that's always been the thing, is that Roy Jones obviously went up to heavyweight, won a version of the world title being heavyweight, and was only interested in one fight. He wanted to fight Mike Tyson. He knew that was where he would make the most money. He knew that would do massive numbers on pay-per-view. So he stayed at heavyweight, hoping Mike Tyson would fight him. The negotiations went back and forth with himself and Mike Tyson. It didn't come to fruition. So he got offered this fight because HBO wanted a pay-per-view event, and he basically crashed the weight from heavyweight to come back down to light heavyweight. Argument is Roy Jones was never the same fighter again. The way that he put so much weight on, he took the weight off. For instance, you can see this isn't the Roy Jones that people had remembered to that point. After this, he would have the rematch with Tarver. Tarver would knock him out in the second round. He would then fight Glenn Johnson. Glenn Johnson would knock him out after that. We never ever
West
saw
Ham and Chelsea player. That's
I mean,
Kawasaki beats him, doesn't he, as well?
Kawasaki beats him after the time. It's a bit of a sad story with Roy Jones. If he moved up to heavyweight, he stayed at heavyweight, he won the world title, and that was his career, he would be held in the same esteem as some of the greats. People say you cannot judge what happens after that. But I think the whole body of work you've got to judge him on. And that he went back, that he lost this fight against Tarver. Tarver was a good boxer, Glenn Johnson, and then he lost to Kawasaki, and then he went on a bit of a world tour, and he lost to a much lesser fighter than him, up until a point that his last fight was against UFC fighter, I'm sure Gareth's aware of, Anthony Pettis, beat him in a boxing match 2 years ago. No. You know, he's one of them stories. He's one of them stories of one of those boxers that went on too long, maybe for a myriad of reasons. But in his prime, Roy Jones was held up by a lot of people as being one of the best boxers in history. When he was going through middleweight, when he fought Hopkins and he fought Toney and that, he was untouchable. You know, those were all presented as, 50-50 fights, and he just run through people. And I do think there's a disconnect on this side of the pond to those in America with Roy Jones, because we didn't see so much of this as it was happening, that people don't really see that generation of fighters in the same esteem. While America was watching Roy Jones, we were watching Eubank and Ben. There was a disconnect. So, you can say it works both ways, that you can speak to an American about a Eubank and Ben, and they wouldn't really know the cultural significance they had in terms of boxing, whereas it's the other way around as well.
Liam, can I ask you, in the midst of all these Tyson negotiations, is that when Steve Collins knocked on Roy Jones's door and begged him for that fight?
Yeah, Steve Collins as well. Steve Collins. That's where Steve Collins ultimately retired, wasn't it? He wanted the Roy Jones fight, and if Roy Jones wasn't going to fight him, it was all a bit of a mess in terms of them guys at the end, towards who wanted to fight who, and I think it kind of shows in terms of what boxing was for a couple of years around that point, until you had your Mayweather come to prominence. And De La Hoya was around at this point, but De La Hoya did cross over a lot more into a more worldwide star. But it did take a couple of years for that to happen. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Can we were clinging on, Liam? Was this when the year later, like Audley wins the Olympics, doesn't he? The gold, is that then?
Yeah,
he's kind of pushed as like a new Brit to get behind.
Yeah, it was coming up, and around this sort of time, this was kind of around this time when, like, you had your Daniel Williams. As I say, Calzaghe was around, but Calzaghe was fighting guys who were ranked like number 27 in the world. So people really couldn't like get into it, sort of thing. And Frank Warren was very, Naz has gone at this point as well. So you think you've lost Lewis, you've lost Naz. Calzaghe's not what he's to become. Hatton's not what he's become yet. There's a bit of a void in terms of stars, which ultimately does come to fruition later on. But talking about stars and their infancy, just another fighter I'm going to pass on to here is in San Antonio, Texas. Manny Pacquiao took on the lineal featherweight champion and a 3-1 betting favourite, Marco Antonio Barrera. Seen by many as Pacquiao's breakout performance, the Filipino fighter dominates from the opening bell, scoring a knockdown in the third round en route to Barrera's corner, throwing in the towel for their fighter in the 11th round. Now, this was a shock. I wish I could stand here and say everybody knew Pacquiao was going to be the fighter that he become. At this point in time, no. A lot of people familiar with Barrera. He handed Nassim Hamid his first loss when Hamid went to America, and I'm sure everybody with a passing interest has heard of the Barrera Morales fights as well in terms of their iconic status in boxing. So Barrera at this point was one of the best fighters in the world. Manny Pacquiao was a guy who was just sizzling around on undercards, very much being trained by Freddie Roach. Freddie Roach always said he wanted to turn him into a two-handed fighter because Pacquiao was very left-hand happy when he came to Freddie Roach. And if you can see from this fight, Barrera just doesn't have a chance to get a foothold in the fight whatsoever. Barrera, the speed and like just the aggression from Pacquiao, just relentless, relentless is the world, and
the volume he lands.
Oh
my god,
he's actually energized. Honestly, he just never stopped. That's what always it's an obvious thing to say, don't he? And just mesmerized me when Pacquiao was on form like that, like in his fight. It was just mind blowing to see.
And Barrera, it proper just feels like he just gets beat up here, doesn't he? The amount of fucking damage he just takes over the course of this fight. Like I say, the amount of just with the speed, the amount of fucking shots that Pacquiao lands. But like, to be fair, like when Liam's saying there about like the level that Barrera's on, like I was just like the durability of this guy. Like he's just he's taking all this and he's just fucking still just standing there and he's walking. He's just
not quitting.
Walking through so much stuff like early on. It was like wild again. This was another one where I think it was like a 12-minute highlight of this one, but looked every second. I just again wanted to just watch the full fight properly here because like what a fucking war. Brilliant.
And as it says, it's the start of Pacquiao's dominance, very much so, and Pacquiao becomes one of the two biggest stars in boxing for the generation after that. Multiple weight world champion, moved up in weights, became a box office draw, like basically was the economy in the Philippines for a long time in terms of the money that he was generating through merchandise and pay-per-views and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm sure in future episodes we'll talk more about Manny Pacquiao and his legacy. But this is kind of the fight that everybody took notice, beating somebody like Barrera at the time that had a lot of stock in him in terms of who he had beaten, Morales, Hamid. So, he did cross over into the UK audience as well as knowing who Barrera was, that this fight was a shock. They did fight again. They did have a rematch as well.
Well, genuinely though, like seriously, it's like you're watching this in ×2 speed when Pacquiao's throwing them combos fast forward. When they slow it down, slow motion, like then, the amount of he hit him like 4 body shots, a left and a right, knocked him down. It looked like it was just one dig though. in normal. It's scary, mate. Like seriously, scary behaviour. That fucking hell.
Yeah, and as I said, we'll probably talk about Pacquiao later on in another episode in time, a little further along. But yeah, this is kind of the infancy of him. So yeah, just to close off sport, and just to finish with another fight event, and if what I was saying about Roy Jones, Antonio Tarver, that he was a little bit stilty and a little bit under the radar this side of the pond, and in terms of just general importance in terms, you could not say the same about this. Held on November the 9th at the Tokyo Dome, Pride presented Final Conflict 2003. The event featured the semi-finals and final of the Pride Middleweight Grand Prix. In the first semi-final, Vanderlei Silva defeated Hikihiko Yoshida by decision, with Quinton Rampage Jackson defeating Chuck Liddell on the other side of the bracket. In the final, Silva knocks out Jackson with knee strikes to capture the Grand Prix championship. Now this, I was not the MMA fan that I became when this happened, but I remember this. There used to be a newspaper you could get in Tower Records called Full Contact Fighter that was all about MMA, and that would come out about a month after it came out in America. And I remember the front cover of this of Rampage getting kneed in the head and saying, this is something I needed to see. I eventually saw it months and months afterwards, and the stark contrast of this in comparison to what UFC was offering at the time really did stand out to me from the beginning. As we've seen on previous episodes, Matty, and you've remarked on just the pageantry at the beginning of all the fighters coming out, standing, just the size of the crowd. And in this, you've got the added wrinkle of Chuck Liddell, who was a contracted UFC fighter at the time, taking on Quentin Rampage Jackson, who was a Pride fighter, and Rampage ultimately dominating him. So not only did you have Chuck Liddell, who had just lost the light heavyweight title to Randy Couture, losing to a fighter outside the UFC, you also had a Pride fighter exerting that dominance over a UFC fighter, so Pride could ultimately say they were the best mixed martial arts organization in the world at this point. As everybody knows,
$250,000 million bet as well.
There was a bet. Yeah, there was a bet with Dana White. They put on the line that he was convinced that Chuck Liddell was going to win this. Again, doesn't really get started. Rampage ultimately just beats him down to the point that the corner throw the towel in. This was part of a bigger tournament, the middleweight Grand Prix at the time. So he had the two semis on this card with the final between Vanderlei Silva and Rampage Jackson. And as a microcosm of things, it's ultimately two of the best rivalries in MMA history, where you've got Rampage and Chuck Liddell, and you had Rampage and Vanderlei Silva. Vanderlei Silva winning the tournament would go on to reign for a couple of years as the best middleweight in the world. And the final shots that he beats Rampage with were just brutal. But ultimately, Rampage was made a star that night just through his toughness. He had beaten a UFC fighter, so that held some equity with the Japanese crowd, that a UFC fighter who they would see as an invader coming into a home promotion had lost. But ultimately, him having to be stopped on his feet by his corner in the final against Vanderlei made Rampage a star. And then ultimately, when he would come over to the UFC, when Pride was bought out a few years later, he was ready-made as a star. He was, as you would say, Matt, he was a main eventer from the get-go. Rampage was, he wasn't working the prelims, he was straight away. But Gareth, this time in MMA history, where was your fandom? Was UFC something you would watch? Is it the bigger events, or is it you're aware of this happening in Japan at the time?
Yeah, this probably predates my UFC fandom. Definitely, this was all stuff that once I started to just get into MMA a bit more, this is where you sort of then going back and sort of digging deep into things that have gone here. And again, it's just, this is always the time period that I always think, I just wish I was watching these in the moment, because again, just feel like such a big deal. And like you say, a Vanderlei Silva in his prime here, this just so good. And everything that you sort of you just referenced there, that the sort of the pageantry and the size and things, and then just even things just down to the stare down between Rampage and Vanderlei at the start and things. This is where it's just things like that that started to just push me that way from wrestling kind of thing and use time more. This is where I'm thinking like, this just feels like I'm getting more out of this than I want from my wrestling from something else, and just coming across there. And like, I only had time to watch the main event of this show on in preparation for this, but even that, like, just it's so it's almost like the way it's I was going to say the way it's laid out, but the way it happens kind of thing of like Rampage just sort of taking that control like early on, and then just be like being in that top position, and then just like when Vanderlei's trying to like get the armbar, but then Rampage is just like fucking kneeing him in the head on the ground and in the body, and then bust him open with that big right and stuff. It's just like such good stuff. But then when they get stood up, like that's when you see like the proper Vanderlei and like them. Oh man, like with the fucking knees and just them soccer kicks that he's just like proper like hammering him with there. And then you just think like you're just watching that where like Rampage has just been on top dominating, and then as soon as it just comes back to the feet and that come back the other way, like, and Rampage is taking it for a bit, like, and you're just like, Christ, how resilient he sort of. He's taking these phenomenal like knees to the body and to the chin, and he's just like standing there and just
there's a point where he's standing there and he smiles back at him as he's taking the knees as well. Yeah,
you're just like, how hard are you? Like unreal, like just like fucking incredible. But then the one that finishes it, just the huge knee for like the stoppage again, just like killer. And that's when it just felt so exciting, so just fresh and just so exciting. Even today, just watching that again, like now, just such a great time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, this is like I can remember seeing this, but partly because it's the level of star, isn't it? It's where Mirko Cro Cop loses his first match.
Yeah, I was going to get to that. Nogueira. It was supposed to be Cro Cop versus Fedor, and Nogueira comes in on short notice, and at the end of the first round, Nogueira is pretty much all at sea, almost knocked out, and the bell rings, and then we go into the second round, and Nogueira jumps for an armbar and submits Cro Cop. So ultimate storytelling. In terms of setting up Nogueira versus Fedor and setting up, a main eventer and setting up two big fights, because the Cro Cop Fedor fight was always there, and then you got the Nogueira fight as well for Fedor.
And it also feels as well at that point in time, it was the fact that in Power Slam even it was being covered by Mo Chatra. He had his little MMA column, and he'd mention it, and you'd see these things, and you'd be even at that point in time in terms of smart fandom. I was always like, oh, okay, like attendance wise, they're selling out. They're selling out the Dome. They're selling out the Saitama Super Arena, and it's not even like wrestling cannot touch it, particularly at this point in Japan. Yeah. But you're looking at like Sakuraba and the like, who it was weird. It was like I can remember him coming back into wrestling and then going back and kind of really going through the Gracie Hunt and stuff. That's what it had. It had the entire total package. It had the stars, the introductions. It had that gloss that UFC can never get close to. And I always think in some ways that there is a point in time where they, like an MMA promotions, and PFL does it to a very limited degree, need to kind of embrace that pageantry. But the Lenny Hart like calls and stuff like that, absolutely like phenomenal stuff. It made it seem like the world's most exciting sport just happening out in Japan, and there'd have been very little to no way, unless you were mates with Sir Paul, of you being able to get your hands on this stuff, which I did a few years later.
Yeah, and I know it's a bit of a trite thing that people constantly say, but it was pro wrestling being done better than pro wrestling at the point in time. And it also, as I was saying about boxing, that boxing was in a bit of a stasis. A lot of people watching MMA over boxing at the point in time. It was an exciting new thing that came along. There was characters that were easily identifiable. You know what I mean? You saw Cro Cop's Croatian check shorts. You know exactly who he was. You saw Liddell's ice shorts. You knew who he was. So the characters were there, sort of thing. And you just say, pardon?
They had poses, didn't they? Like a video game.
Yeah, exactly. And you saying about Power Slam, you think sometimes, this is around the time I first started getting the Observer, and you would have the first story on the Wrestling Observer newsletter being a Pride event, and you'd think to yourself, well, I've kind of got to take notice because it's so big. And as you say, when people like Dave and that moving away from pro wrestling to just talk about MMA, it's hard to say now in terms of how much of a cultural thing it was, MMA, particularly Pride in Japan, for that 2-3 year period. That it felt like the biggest sporting event in the world when there was a big event like this. And looking at how people view the UFC now as being as much a content producer as much as a sport, it's really hard to say how big it was and how special these events felt.
No, absolutely brilliant stuff.
That completes the sports section, and I'm going to hand the baton over to Matty, who's going to do music for November 2003.
Yeah, thank you very much, Liam. And we are going to count down from 10 to 1 the top 10 singles as of November 2003. And we will start with number 10. We've got Hey Ya by Outkast. Number 9, we've got Clapback / Reigns by Ja Rule. And at number 8, Crash the Wedding by Busted. In at 7, Turn Me On by Kevin Little. 6, Maybe That's What It Takes by Alex Parks. Number 5, One More Chance, Michael Jackson. Number 4, Jump by Girls Aloud. Number 3, Mandy, Westlife. Number 2, Have Your Man by that well-renowned artist Shane Ritchie. And at number 1, we've got Leave Right Now by William Young. Now, there's only one place I'm starting here and going right to you, Liam. And I'd be shocked if you weren't a fan of this one. Hey Ya, Liam? One of Outkast's best?
No.
I'm shocked at that.
I am possibly the biggest Outkast fan you could name. I think they're the greatest hip hop duo ever. This, I hate saying this, not my Outkast. In the fact
I am shocked. I thought you'd appreciate the
I mean, this is part of the double album. This is Love Below Speaker Box, which come out, which were 2 like concept albums released. Big Boy taking one side of the disc, Andre 3000 taking the other side of the disc. It was good. I'm not going to say it's bad. It was good, but it wasn't necessarily what I wanted to hear from Outkast. This era of Outkast is always their commercial stuff for me, and I hate saying that because it makes me sound like a snob. But I don't think for the first 3 albums that they released, I don't necessarily think these songs were released with that fan base in mind. This was to appeal to another fan base. I don't dislike the song. I don't dislike the album. I think it's fine. I think it's good in places. I think it's very good in places. But as a whole, not really my Outkast. Iconic video, though. I mean,
and JP, you couldn't avoid this song, though, mate. Could you? Genuinely couldn't.
God, no. I mean, we joke about Sound of the Summer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
This was just a song that just sort of never went away. And I didn't mind. I was kind of all right with it. I could understand, like, if it was one of these things where it played in pubs, you would just see people just moving along to it and trying to see men trying to imitate the dance of Andre 3000. Did he peak when he's in Guy Ritchie's Revolver? Well, you tell me. At this point, one of the worst films I've ever seen.
Not as bad as their film Idlewild, if you've ever seen that, JP, which is a dreadful film.
It's ringing bells. I think even I would have just gone, nah, I'm not fucking watching that. But yeah, it feels. I say to disagree with Liam on this one. To me, to the layperson, it was one of these songs that completely stuck out. But it was, as much as anything, it was the video. You just couldn't help with the video of just go it's just technically very, very good. Very straightforward. The old cliche of doing. I think it's Ryan Philippe who's playing the guy, the host on TV and stuff. That.
Yeah.
But it works. It just works so well. I'm a big fan of it.
Can I throw just one more Outkast question there at you, Liam? Big Boy or Andre? Who have you got?
Now, this has been a point of conversation recently when Rolling Stone did their 100 greatest rappers. I've got to take him as a duo. That sounds like a cop out, but
leave you have to pick one. I like answers.
I'm not picking Dennis Condrey or Stan Lane, am I? I'm picking, Express here, right? You know what I mean?
Stan all day, mate.
But no,
I've always been a big boy fan for the actual,
Yeah.
but like Andre 3000's always high. Was he high in that list? Because it wouldn't surprise me if he was.
yeah, Andre 3000 was
Yeah.
higher than Big Boy.
Yeah.
Personally, preference wise, if I had to pick one, I would say Big Boy. But
Yeah, similar.
I take him as a duo.
Gareth, what about yourself for this song? I mean, looking down the list, mate, I mean, I don't think this is him. Unless you're going to surprise me. Yeah, I was going to say, unless you're going to surprise me in the gang here. Is there any song that you'd pick, probably? I mean, unless you're a busted guy, Gareth. I mean, where are we going here?
Honestly, mate, there's like nothing, literally nothing on the list. And I was even looking like we have the albums released thing as well. That was slim pickings.
Oh, I've got 5 or 6 albums to go into.
Not a great year month or year for me. This one, I was just like looking at that top 3, and I was just like, fucking hell, like how much is music to shit at that point, like.
You know what it is though? It's proper cover city, innit? Like I'm Your Man, Mandy, Jump. Even the sample to Ja Rule's Made the Rains, Liam, as well, with Africa, isn't it, by Toto? Yeah. So,
and obviously TV competitions as well, with Will Young and Alex Park's been in there as well. So covers and telly kind of thing.
Yeah.
Although it feels
Phil Redmond was right.
Yeah. Jimmy Corker was right, Gareth. Come on, get it right.
Although the Will Young one is an interesting story in and of itself, just because. I think does this come from like he wins Pop Idol, and then he wins.
Beats Gareth Gates, and
everything's being written for him, but it's the idea of this guy's being kind of like set up to fail, basically. Then there's the story where basically he feels like he's blackmailed by News Corporation to come out. And then it's like he's written this album himself and these songs, yet it works. Like somehow it's just like, all right, you write your own album. It's like he's got a 2-album deal, and they just think, well, it's going to die on its arse, isn't it? Because this guy, what kind of talent does he have? And while I'm not like an evergreen fan or leave right now,
I think this is a good song, mate. For the pop, I think this is
perfectly fine as like as a pop song, but he does so much better. And now you see him, and this is a guy who's kind of like cemented his place. To a certain extent, to a certain level. I always think of him, he's the kind of guy who plays Warwick Castle in the summer. Like, you'll be doing those kind of gigs and you'll always get a big enough attendance for it. I won't fucking be there.
Won't you? Won't you?
I know, JP. I reckon if I nudged you and said, hey, mate, you fancy this in Warwick Castle? Me, you go.
If we've got permission to get off our tits, then maybe, yeah.
I'll be a good night, that, JP.
You're putting up a good defensive Willie here, actually. To be fair, like JP as well.
But
I don't think he was ever going to struggle coming out of Pop Idol, was he?
No, but I think that what JP's saying, sorry, Lee, I think Gareth Gates was probably the one he wanted to win, and he could push and sell, whereas he won.
Yeah.
And it was like, what do we do with this guy to market him? Oh, he's just got a voice. Well, yeah, that's what it's about. That's what it's meant to be about, isn't it? Really? But
it's the fact he writes the second album. The first one he's got nothing to do with, and there isn't the expectation that he's able to do it, and then he succeeds. Now, whether or not you like it or not, it's just like, but he does succeed. It does work on a commercial level, at least, and you just think, okay, somebody who's bucking that trend, like he's someone who's managing to kind of like break through out of that kind of like idea. Why you Matty laughing away there? But yeah, and I always thought there's a little bit of admiration, but I would never buy one of his albums or one of his songs.
Yeah. I don't know. I think there's a song.
This video's wild, by the way, as well. It'll probably be the copyright gods will be all over this, telling us we can't.
In about 2000, like I used to keep up with the Trigger mention this. I kept up with the charts to about 2010, Gareth. Like honestly, like never got away from me metal and new metal, of course, stuck in that. But when you just keep up to date and just see who's number one. And I think he brought a song out around then called "Come On, Will Young." He come back out of the blue. Really good song. Genuinely, like used to keep up on the mix CDs I was here making at the time. Gareth, genuinely, really good song. Will Young, come on, try and listen to it before the weekend's done, please, Gareth. Just to get some sort of inspiration from this list, because I'll throw it to you.
I don't want to hear about "Come On, Will You."
I'm going go to Liam on this one again. Sorry, you're finishing me off here, lad. I'm literally crying tears. Liam, another song from this whole summer, genuinely into winter here, into whatever season, was Kevin Little, Turn Me On, Mate. This reminded me this era, like on the last episode, JP said we were telling you where we were at in our lives. This was me starting to go out clubbing and nightclubs and going to, and rap and R&B was literally the music starting to dominate, to take over from your new metals and such.
Yeah.
And the clubs we were going to, it was just playing. This was the one to come on at the beginning of the night, the middle of the night, and at the end of the night, mate. Like, genuinely, you could not, if you couldn't avoid Hey Ya, you could not avoid this song, and it's still a banger, Liam, for me.
Yeah, two songs that really.
I know what you're going to say. Can I say it? Is it Wayne Wonder?
Yeah,
No,
yeah,
go.
exactly. I say that
unreal.
that whole clubbing period was similar to you in terms of going to like proper grown-up clubs and not metal clubs around the back. You know what I mean? Them two songs were like massive, massive songs at the time. I don't mind this; it's fine. The charts that we've dug up in general here, it is desperate, isn't it? In terms of like, does this represent what 2003 is? As you say, there's a lot of covers on there.
Yeah.
Across the board is, I know JP says it's as the Till CDs, isn't it? You know what I mean? I've done a big shop and I like that Westlife song I saw on Jonathan Ross. So I'm going to buy the CD sale sort of stuff, isn't it? But Matty, throw a question to you. As we've established on previous episodes, you've been a big Barry Manilow fan. What are your views on a Westlife cover of Mandy?
I think it's atrocious, and it's like they haven't got, for me, like Westlife, like serious note here. Like I've never liked, like obviously never liked them, but even like, you know, when you look back and go like, oh, Boyzone had a few good tunes. Like we say here, we're not pop, you know, we're not into pop and such, but you can't avoid that type of music, as I say. And I studied the charts for a few years. But Westlife, I never got them. Like, lads, honestly, they were fucking awful. And don't get this big push they got. I just don't get it at all. Every cover they done was fucking awful. Like, all right, the best one they probably done was Uptown Girl. You know, that was probably the best cover they done. But this, and I always say, against all odds, Mariah Carey and Westlife is the worst cover I've heard of all time. It's fucking horrible. Like, genuinely, these are just... Never got the buzz with Westlife. JP, please, like defend me. I know the other guys will, but fucking the worst, please.
I'm with you 100% on this. If, like, at this point in time, if you were going to like a wedding in Ireland, these fuckers were never off.
But 8 number ones, like the first 8, like rival the Beatles. And I'm not a Beatles guy or an Elvis. Like, I love Elvis. They're up there in the record books with them, though, JP.
They beat the Beatles record, didn't they? That's outrageous. That shouldn't be allowed.
Fucking madness. Genuine madness.
Not a fan of their cover of Seasons in the Sun.
Another one. And they always released double-sided songs, didn't they? From day one. Whoever's behind them marketing that unbelievable. It's Louis Walsh, isn't it? Is it Louis Walsh?
It is.
Is it fucking fair play for milking them? Like, but fuck me.
These would play at weddings. My family be dancing to me. Come on now, would you not dance to this? And I'd be like, you know, family member of mine.
Bulgarian wedding, JP.
Exactly.
Rusev Crush.
Oh, my chest. Oh, fucking hell. Oh, fuck.
Oh, that's the most fun I've ever had looking at having a Westlife video on in the background of my fucking entire life.
Fair play to McFadden, though. He fucked off on them, didn't he? Fair play to him. I'll always say that about him. Fair play.
Oh, traded in Kerry Katona for Delta Goodrum. That was a fucking move, wasn't it?
Best of both worlds, didn't he, dear McFadden?
I think you sparked that with your Iceland tactics.
I was going to say, did he get the Iceland gimmick with him? Like, fucking hell, honestly, but just, I don't want to hear anyone ever even ironically or meaning it say Westlife were ever good, because they were the one of the worst of all time. Just worst ever. But just the last little, obviously got to give Girls Aloud a shout here. Probably the best of the covers in in that top 10, I'd say, with it being slim pickings either, but the girls doing well there. Don't want to tell you the story about that, lads. Not on this podcast anyway. We'll go through it. We'll move on swiftly on that one. I'll leave that cliffhanger for next time. But before we go into number 5, I'm your man, Shane Ritchie. I can't even I just can't. Why
was this a thing?
Comic relief.
There you go.
Comic relief. He's Alfie Moon at this point, isn't he? Is he?
Yeah.
Is he Alfie Moon?
He's Alfie Moon.
He must be Alfie Moon at this point. So yeah, this was the.
Because if you go back to the start of the videos, you'll see on here the first thing you see is that.
Oh, so it's children in need, not comic relief. Sorry, children in need.
A hill I'll die on the worst night of television in the year. It's just like, oh, that's on, is it? Well, I'm putting on the PlayStation.
You turned heel on Pudsey, JP.
Mate, the bloke was never a face. Like as far as I concerned, he had Ultimate Warrior, prime Hulk Hogan heat with me. Like I didn't want to know about. Always put over. You know, he was always the star on the show. Never put himself. He was worse than fucking Big Daddy. He really was. It was shocking. And I had to ask Vicky a lot about this top 10. She's a big Busted fan as well. Like she's going to see McBusted. Asked me if I want to go, and I was just like, honestly, just nail my fucking bollocks to the floor, like than watch that. And watching this fella do this as well, like it's just Jesus Christ.
I've got a lot of time for Shane Ritchie. The fact that he lived the gimmick and used Daz to wash his suit. That's always
he used it to do other things as well.
That's
a good like the Undertaker in bits of this as well, though, isn't he?
American Badass, Shane Ritchie. No, but
Look at him. Look at
Lewisham Badass, Shane Ritchie.
Liam, I'm with you to a degree that, you know, he's that cheeky chappy. He's that, you know, I get all that, but I say he's worked himself into. He's Alfie Moon on telly now, and you see him. He's not Shane Ritchie anymore. He's Alfie Moon.
Yeah.
I just didn't get the initial push, me, Liam, in the 90s. I'm sure we did and I love Lucky Numbers. Don't get me wrong, but this mini Elvis with the quiff and all, I just didn't get it. Like where was he coming from? That comedian style of Bradley Walsh at the time, these game show hosts. Fair fuck, he's done remarkably well to have a longevity of a career. Don't get me wrong on that, but this is terrible, isn't it? This is really bad. After all,
I'm looking at this video and I'm wondering if you put rolling over the top of it by this kid, it weirdly would work.
JP, you've got an AI, Shane Ritchie, now. That's the American
on a motorbike with his fucking fist up.
With Nana on the back instead of Sarah.
That can be done.
It will be done, JP. It will be done. Oh, but Colleen Nolan, really married to Colleen Nolan for a bit, Liam.
Yeah, he done on a celebrity as well, doesn't he? That's always good kudos points, isn't it? With the greater good in terms of popularity. You do a bit of a celebrity. You eat like a fucking, I don't know, donkey dick, and then you're good to go. You know what I mean?
Not balls on ass, Liam.
Is an ostrich arsehole.
And the last single, lads, would be remiss not to mention that it ties in a nice segue. See, lads, I do a bit of work, a bit of learning this podcast game. Is in this month, Liam, we had the release of Michael Jackson's Number Ones album, and the brand new, the actual new recording on this album was Michael Jackson, One More Chance, wasn't it? And I'll be honest, this was the time I was going to Music Zone, still buying CDs at this point. Well, still am now, really, but in the thick of it. And I did buy Number Ones. It was a big deal, though, Liam. I know Jack had the History album. I love this Number One CD.
You're saying you're still buying CDs here. It's just dated this episode. If someone listens to this in 20 years, they're going to this was recorded in 1998 or something.
Yeah. We've had this on a show that's getting dropped this weekend, haven't we, Gareth, where vinyl is totally over CDs nowadays, isn't it? For sure. CDs is way down the list. But Number Ones, Michael Jackson, Liam, was you into it? Was you a Jackson fan? Can we go there?
Yeah, I think I like to think everybody at a point in their life, like Michael Jackson. It's I think it's kind of what we said about Elton John a couple of episodes back, that his catalogue so diverse and just so omnipresent. It's hard not to like him, sort of thing. But I don't. This is one of the things that knocks me, right? Why does Michael Jackson need to release a compilation record of number ones? How many records has he sold? Thriller, Bad, what, History, everything, Off the Wall, everything people want, they've got. Why does there have to be? I know it's probably something contractual with the record label, but I don't think anybody was sitting in 2003 going, I tell you what, I'm really missing Billie Jean from my record collection. I need to buy number ones of Michael Jackson. It's like, like Queen number ones and stuff like that. It's like, surely if you're that big a fan that you're going to go out and buy the record. These songs are so omnipresent that you already have them.
It's so they could get the chance to listen to one more chance, mate. That's marketing ploy behind it. You know what I mean? This is why they're doing it. And I mean, just a quick offshoot, lads, on Michael Jackson. We'll go from Gareth down the order there. Favorite Michael Jackson song, Gareth? Let's go.
Fucking hell, like.
Big shout, this, Matty.
Yeah, Billie Jean is the first song that comes into my head. I don't know if.
Okay, Liam.
I don't know if that's correct. Coming to me first and giving me 1 second to think of every Michael Jackson song ever.
This one I'm about, Gareth. You know me by now, mate. Liam, favorite Jacko song?
Black or White with Macaulay Culkin on guitar.
Okay. JP, favorite Jacko song?
I'd be boring. I say Thriller, but it's as much for the video and stuff like this. But it's also as much for the Filipino prisoners who ended up doing like kind of entire routine set to this. And you're like, well, fair fucks, lads. That's
You're
one
just
way
gutted.
to kill some time out of a 20-year stretch for a drugs charge. Yeah.
I've also got a fun point. I've also got a soft spot for Earth Song featuring Jarvis Cocker.
Oh, mate. Earth Song. If only for the Vic Reeves cover on Shooting Stars on the album I got with that.
JP, you're just gutted we didn't get that Will Young and Michael Jackson duet, aren't you, lad? You're still on the.
I just never know why he didn't get that. Like, he never developed the guts to say, "I'm gonna do like a collaboration with 9 Inch Nails or something like that, just for like shits and giggles." Because that would have been a blast. Be done stuff like that.
Oh, well, you say that. Well, sorry, Matty, you say that, but the single that was released, this single, when it was released, on the B-side was a Paul Oakenfold remix.
Oh, there you go, mate. There you go.
Catering to all the bases there.
I'm a Dirty Diana guy for the Michael Jackson song, the favourite one anyway. But yeah, we will segue into the albums. We've mentioned Michael Jackson's number ones getting released in November 2003. And as Gareth said, even he's looking through the albums, yeah, maybe not the greatest actual albums by these artists / bands, but a lot of big hitters, I'd say, Liam, in this month. You've got, Britney Spears releasing In The Zone, Blink-182 with their self-titled record there, Kylie Minogue, Body Language, lads. I mean, Kylie in there, Gareth, I thought you would take a closer look at that. We had the Beatles releasing Let It Be, Naked. We had Korn releasing Take a Look in the Mirror. Is that, Liam? Yeah, Take a Look in the Mirror. We've got Immortal Technique, Liam. That's surely got to be one of yours. For sure.
I knew that was coming.
We're going to that. Go on, mate.
Yeah, this period of Immortal Technique, yeah, I did like it. I have got that record, actually, yeah.
I knew it.
So you are right this time. But what about Beg for Mercy, Matty? Surely you got that.
No, I was coming to that. I mean, this was like, this is prime once again, like, this is year 13 stuff, JP, sixth form, common room. This was like genuinely the hottest ticket in town. Liam, I'm going to back me up on this. This was, everyone had it on physical.
Yeah.
Like everyone, like this was mini disc era, like just get it copied to your mini disc, listening to it, just bouncing around. And this is 50 Cent in a nutshell, because you've heard interviews with him since this, Liam. Like, obviously, Get Rich or Die Trying comes out 6 to 9 months before this, isn't it? Sells gazillion copies. And 50, obviously, they want a new 50 Cent album to be released after that, obviously, to cash in on his success and get another one out there quick. But he's like, no. Let's get G-Unit giving an album out. And then before even 50 Cent releases his next album in 2005, The Massacre, isn't it? Yep. All of G-Unit released solo albums before that as well, Liam. So fair play to 50 there of like, no, wait there. let's give everyone a bit of a fair share about this. And I know he was pocketing most of the dollar, don't get me wrong, but still, it's still a nice thing to do, isn't it? And I love, like, popping them things, how you pronounce it, Liam, one of the greatest for me, my era of like rap and commercialized rap. Unbelievable song, that, mate. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I remember getting this quite early when it come out, sort of thing. I mean, in hindsight, it's a bit rough in places, but yeah, at the time, as you say,
it encapsulates the time, though, done it for me, for sure.
It was every time he dropped something new, it was an event at our age. You know what I mean? New CD, new song, anything. It was an event at us. So yeah, I do have fond memories of that record, sort of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what about
sorry, go on. It's your pillar.
What are you thinking here, Gareth? You said it was slim pickings on the singles. Is there anything that you actually had at the time you've listened to, takes your eye now? Anything?
It's funny because like you like look and like there's like Pearl Jam here, but it's like a B-sides album, and I'm like, I just saw it and I was like, I've never even listened to that ever. Like, so I was like, oh, I might give that a listen this week. I think there was a Stone Temple Pilots on there, but it's just like a best of Stone Temple Pilots that I didn't even know it existed. I think the one there, Matty, I think the only album here that I fucking scrolled down here and I think I've actually heard, because I do like to throw this on. You'll appreciate this. Is Linkin Park live in Texas. I love a good, I love a good live album, and like I'll like when and in fact, you've been in my car when you've been like, oh, live version, when I've had like Linkin Park songs come on the playlist there. But yeah, defo, good, proper good end to that. Like the big hitters obviously played at the end of the album, quality one.
Because this is once again, lads, if I start crying here, I apologise, because this is like, they're obviously, I'd say they're not my favourite band. The first two albums, like, genuinely, I'll just argue to the day I die that they're my favourite albums. Got the big box set to them. They're 20 years later, just absolutely. But this was the time.
I love that you'll argue that they're your favourites. Like, who's going to argue? No, they're not your favourites. No, they are.
Oh no, the best. I put them up as best. Even Gareth, I put them up against anything, mate. Sorry, yeah, that too. If you get me, especially after a few pints. But this was released obviously after Meteora, and just anything I could consume by them. Like they had like a DVD live at the frat party that got brought out. I got that. This especially, again, Gareth, and I'm not like, especially at the time, wasn't a big like live guy like on CD. But this, it was like just injected in my veins, and you got the double disc with the CD. The DVD of the actual concert that it got took from as well. So I was like, this is just fucking unbelievable stuff. Just putting it on every single day when I got home from sixth form, like, and just what a time. Like, being into a band at the time, lads, I know it might sound fucking, but I just wish I had that again, and I don't think I ever will. Genuinely, I don't think I'll ever have that again in my life. Like, it's all gonna go back, like, and yeah, it took me back, lads, genuinely. But love that. Love the fact that you like it as well, there, Gareth. So thank you for that, mate. But is there any JP for yourself, mate? Anything there? You're a big Ryan Adams fan?
There was a few Ryan Adams tracks I would have possibly had at a later stage on the first time I ever had an iPod. But I always look at this kind of like this era of it's. I'm not saying the music industry has never done this before, but it does, and it ties in with an overall theme of exploitation. We've got different methods to sell you different things, whether it's a mini disc, whether it's a CD, and we're going to give you things like compilations. We're going to give you a live album, but we're not actually going to give you new music. And if, we're not that far removed from, say, Britpop, which I've so obviously grew up with and had so much affinity for. And then seeing how, I don't know if Gareth feels the same way, it just feels like music fell off a cliff after a while. And it was just like the revenge of like pre-packaged pop, which had been so much a part of like my childhood and I didn't have any affinity for. And it was very much like a lot of the sounds feel to be like, this is the thing that's currently in vogue. And here are several different bands and acts and artists trying to like kind of just take that same sound and just all have a rush to release something for it rather than things feeling kind of new and innovative. It was very much like, it wasn't about taking risks. it was about, well, this could be commercially successful. It's like, yeah, it's like the rise of the corporate kind of titans around music and stuff. And the cheeky bastards had the cheek to complain about Napster and whatnot. And it was like, what's the markup on a CD, lads?
That's a good selling point, JP. That's why you're a master, mate.
17 quid, and you've paid like £1.50 for this, and then you bitch when people decide, oh, I'm not paying that because it's simply not worth it. And so, yeah, it is. It feels like a bit of a lost era in many ways. Now, it's not to say there's not good acts, and it's not like, but it's kind of lost in amongst so much fucking garbage that's thrown out there in between.
But
Lars.
Yeah. But it will be.
Did he need the money? His missus was selling enough artwork at the time, Lars. Keep your fucking trap shut, lad.
Like I had a segue for the last portion, I will segue into handing over to you, JP, because I've got to mention POD's album they released in November 2003, Liam, self-titled Payable on Death. Like, not a commercial success like Satellite's predecessor, one of my favourite / best albums, Gareth. I'll say both there for that. But it did still manage to shift over 1 million copies, Liam, this with Will You was a good song, Change the World's a good song off that. And on the Japanese version, mate, one of my favourite POD songs, and tying into one of the movies featured in our top 10, The Matrix Revolutions, was a song called Sleeping Awake, lads. Like, great video, great song. And yeah, just thought I'd have to mention the absolute fucking lads there with the release in 2003. So I will, on that note, JP.
Before you jump over, can I just mention, before we move on, the Black Album by Jay-Z? I think...
Yeah.
Mention the size of this album at the time. Jay-Z was one of the biggest artists in the world, rap or otherwise, at that time, and it's probably the album a lot of people came familiar with. Jay-Z. 99 Problems was on there. Dirt Off Your Shoulder was on there. Very
classic.
Very much more of a commercial Jay-Z album. Not necessarily my favorite. I mean,
I don't like it, Liam. You know, Encore's on the. I think this is because this was built, wasn't it, as his swan song, his retirement album, wasn't it? That's how, you know, as you say, in the midst of his biggest success, he thought, well, I'll jack it in. Yeah, it's kind of This was his retirement, and I'm not big on this. People, I think, with 99 Problems, I don't even love that. I know it's got obviously significance and such, but I love Dirt Off Your Shoulder, Timbaland on the beat. I love the making of the documentary where Jay-Z's, and it's a meme to this day, isn't it? It's like they're in the studio and they're just bouncing to it, and I love that. And it's like I see wrestling memes to put all wrestling songs over it on the meme, but that's a great song. But it is. I think this is slightly overrated for me. This album, mate.
Yeah, I think I was done after the first Blueprint with Jay-Z. It's like anything after that, it's not my it's not my Jay-Z really. It's and this is very much that. It's almost like stadium hip hop. You know what I mean? It's those massive beats with those massive choruses sort of thing. You know, Rick Rubin's obviously involved in it. That's gives it that oomph in terms of its sound and that, but not really. It was a massive album at the time. I think it was the biggest hip hop album of the year at that point. And just the wait for it to come out for people, just a new Jay-Z album was massive. But yeah, not really one of my favorites.
But as you say, people listening to this might put that as Jay-Z's best, though, Liam. Do you know what I mean? And that's what opinions, great, aren't they? You know what I mean? That's what it's all about. And but not our Jay-Z, mate, at that point. But on that note, JP, I will throw the baton to you, mate. That way. Oh, that way even. Throw that way even.
It'll always throw you, mate, the mirror on StreamYard. Yes, as we get over to the final pillar for today, and it's films. So for those of you who are going to be watching back, you're going to hear the hooky version of the film theme on it. It's all hooky versions because of the copyright bastards, as I will call them, and I'll call them to their fucking faces as well. Is why we've had to mute the songs, the pricks. Honestly. But yeah, let's get into the top 10. And at number 10, we have Calendar Girls. Number 9, In America. Number 8, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, or LXG, as no one called it. Number 7, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre remake. Number 6, Intolerable Cruelty. Number 5, Kill Bill Volume 1. Number 4, Seabiscuit. Number 3, Finding Nemo. Number 2, The Matrix Revolution. And number 1, Love Actually. Oh. And there's some films there that I've never seen. And
Same.
I suppose I'm going to open up the floor because I'm happy to talk about any and all of these films. But is there anyone that anyone would like to go to first? I'm tempted to go to Matrix Revolutions because you mentioned it there previously with POD doing one of the songs from it. Is that right?
Yeah, that is right.
It is.
I'll be honest. I've never seen any of the sequels to the Matrix, and I'm gonna have to watch.
Lucky you, mate.
The original, and I'm obsessed at the minute, lads. My new one on YouTube.
Right.
Go through different things. I've been watching football joke quizzes, and then I've been watching actors and all the salaries they receive throughout the whole career videos on YouTube. Right, and funnily enough, I done Keanu Reeves last night, and honestly, like JP, I forgot he was even a Matrix in like 2021, wasn't he?
Yeah.
That just bombed. It was just like, why? Like, these aren't well received. So why the fuck did you think to do another one? Like, you take it away on these, JP, because I've never seen them.
Lazy commercial reasons. I think there's a thing. Like, I can remember watching these at this point in time. I was still living in London, and I watched these at the Barbican Cinema, which is like a cracking cinema. I don't know if you've ever been to Barbican Centre before. Do you know the place where I mean? Right down in the concert venue. It's a phenomenal place to go to, and like the flats there used to be like fucking considered worthless and are now worth multi-millions up here. And I saw the 2 sequels there, and it was so bad because the first film is filled with these like kind of like big ideas, and it's like vaguely kind of like the Book of Revelations, but in science fiction movie form. And then the first sequel was like, that was disappointing. This third one, I was openly laughing in the cinema because I was just like, this is shit. I can remember just how massively disappointed I was by it as well. And it was like what they thought, well, from the first film, what we really need to do is we need to sort of go all in on wire fighting and slow-mo without taking any of the kind of appeal of the first couple of films as well. And it's too much. It's just sort of thrown out there as well. Lawrence Fishburne feels like very much like a side character in the sequels and isn't as much of a bigger deal. There's a young fella in it that they're trying to push as somewhat of a star. It's just a load of old bollocks, basically. And it didn't do like, and this is the thing, like it didn't do very well. And like when they tried to bring it back, it also just like died a death. It feels like the Matrix sort of exists in its own world. And these 2 sequels, which I think they filmed concurrently, they filmed them both together and released them. Like just a couple of very lazy films. But lads, have you got any particular memories of Matrix Revolutions?
I'm with Matty here. I never saw the sequel.
Yeah. Never seen any of them.
I'm likely the low man on the first one as well. I like it. I think it's
Gareth,
good. But again, it's one of them.
I reckon you're a Matrix guy, Gareth.
Nah, I'm a bit like Liam there, like the same. Like I remember watching it and thinking, yeah, that was all right. It was enjoyable enough, kind of thing. But like, it never felt worthy of reaching the status that it seemed to reach in people's minds. And then obviously there's subsequent loads of trailers and things like sequels coming off the back of it, and things like it's I don't know. It almost seemed to just, I don't know. It sort of developed this sort of runaway train status for maybe. I don't know if it was maybe amongst teenagers from that time, whereas obviously I grew up in a time of, you know, you were watching Aliens and Predator and Blade Runner and things like that, and it just didn't, you know, by comparison, it just never, it almost felt like to me like it got treated as being like on the same level as them or something like that, when it fundamentally wasn't.
I think there's another film. I think there's another film in this list that will come up, and I think Matrix is very similar. That it's as much an aesthetic as it is a film.
Yes.
The Matrix.
Yeah, it really is. If the film you're talking about is Kill Bill Volume 1, I'm assuming for this.
I thought you meant Love Actually, Liam.
I've got a little revelation about Love Actually that will come out.
It's an aesthetic on Smooth FM. Love Actually, isn't it? That's right.
We'll save Love Actually for the end. Shall we do that? JP,
Finish on a high. Finish on a high. Yeah.
Well, That's one way of describing it. Yeah, Kill Bill Volume 1, which, I mean, it's a funny one, really, for these. Again, it's an aesthetic. It's as much the music and the set pieces as it is anything to do with a film that really, by all rights, had no right. It also feels like, again, it's how do you rinse your audience? Well, we're going to make these into two different films. And it's like, and unfortunately, it kind of reaches as nadir with, say, Grindhouse with him and Robert Rodriguez doing the two together. It's funny because I watched Kill Bill Volume 1 in the cinema and Volume 2 in the cinema, and I never watched them again. And there's things from here, like the usual foot fetish is in there, like as you'd imagine.
Standard.
There's like the scene with the crazy 88s has become this kind of, it's just more about the stylistic kind of side of it as much as anything else. But it's really, it's the kind of, and it's not to say all Tarantino films necessarily have substance, but sometimes there's interesting stuff going on. Like, even if you're not a big fan of, I watched Once Upon a Time in Hollywood recently, you just think, okay, the idea of doing like some revisionist history around the Manson family killings, you know, is kind of, there's a novelty to it. Doing like a like Inglorious Bastards, or even films like The Hateful Eight, I at least kind of like admire the attempt for it. This is just like, I'm going to do a kung fu film, basically, and this is how I'm going to end up doing it. And I always thought it was fine for what it is. It's got a couple of good moments in it. The song from this, which I can't remember the name from like the one particular scene leading up to the fight scene, is kind of interesting. But it's a lot of, like, in some ways it feels like after the Matrix trailer, it's the same kind of shtick all over again when it comes to like a series of wacky fight scenes. So yeah, it's not a film that I've got a lot of love for, even though it isn't in and of itself bad.
I do like this, and I'm not as big on, I think it's been on these shows, I'm not as big on Tarantino as you guys, but I like this one. I do think the fight scenes are, as you say, I agree, JP, but I think they're great though. I think the fight scenes are fucking brilliant, but I'm just not a manga guy. So I've just got my Letterboxd review. I watched this in 2021 last, and got me review up, and I'm just not into like manga and such, so that bit lost me. And I know they're telling the story, of course, but I'm just not into that. But yeah, I thought Fairman's great in this as well, and thought better than the second one, of course. I mean, and that's still good for me, good as a whole. But and I know what you're saying though, JP. It is a lot of just the style, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a lot of flab on these. There's 1 3-hour film, not 2 3-hour films. There's a lot of flab, but it's at a point where certainly like Miramax, they're not going to be arguing with Tarantino. It's just like, no, you just let him do and make whatever he wants, and we don't argue the toss about it. And it feels like he's arguably like almost like too big a name to be able to do it. And mention that, like, it's an interesting one. The one I want to go to next is one that I'm not sure if any of you would have ever seen, but Intolerable Cruelty.
Who's in that? It rings a bell. Then who's in that again?
It is George Clooney.
Did you not watch the trailers, Matty?
And George Clooney, Catherine Zeta-Jones. But I think it's more notable because it feels to me, and this is something that, I don't know, it's not spoken about enough. We speak about sort of like big superstar directors and stuff. This was like the first film of the Coen brothers that kind of was like a flop. And I remember watching this on a plane, and it was, I'd gone over to see my sister in the States, and it's not bad. It's just a sort of screwball comedy around a divorce lawyer who falls in love with his client's soon-to-be ex-wife and stuff. So there's that sort of classic kind of like 1940s screwball comedy to it. But I think people forget about the run that the Coen brothers went on, because there was a period of time when I was first really getting into film, and I was thinking, God, like I loved Blood Simple. I loved Miller's Crossing. I even loved like Barton Fink and the Hudsucker Proxy. They weren't all commercial successes, but they were like really interesting films. And this is one of the ones where it's like they're kind of making what feels like a studio screwball comedy, of which Clooney made several like this, like One Fine Day and stuff like that. They were like kind of very much of a muchness. So to see the Coen brothers doing it is very, very weird. Has anyone seen this?
I've seen it. I saw it because it was a Coen brothers film. I don't have much of an opinion on it from when I saw it, but On the surface, you wouldn't think it's a Coen Brothers film. You'd think it's a George Clooney film, isn't it? You know, it's one of them. And I think that this is kind of the period where I wasn't blindly watching everything Coen Brothers anymore. Whereas there was a point of that. Is it The Lady Killers that come out after this with Tom Hanks?
Yes.
I don't think I ever saw that, which I assume, which I've been told is a lot better than this, and it's a good film. I've never seen that, but yeah, this period, it was almost like a rom-com on the surface. It looked like, and not a Coen Brothers film, and I don't think it was ever presented as being something like slightly off the wall.
I think it's less of a, when you watch it, it's less of a rom-com than what the trailer makes it look.
Yeah.
There is more of a screwball comedy element to it. There's a bit of a the kind of con trick of a film and the twists that kind of happen along the way. But it's just almost disappointing when you see like directors who you just think, lads, you're capable of so much more than this, of which they would end up going on to do with your No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
And the like.
Can we just say though, I mean, obviously Catherine Zeta looking like $1 gazillion, like they're like just wow, what a lady.
It's incredibly weird, particularly now. I mean, and now she's known to an entirely different generation as Morticia Adams. That's who she is, and it's who she'll be to them for time immemorial.
My favourite, I'm no John Moxley guy by any means, and this is a proper deep cut, this one, lads. But on the episode of WWE Ride Along from back in the day off the network, him and Roman Reigns are travelling together, right? And all Moxley's singing is just Catherine Zeta Jones. He's just singing it all the way down. Honestly, I'll have to dig it out for you because you'll appreciate it.
It would have been, I tell you, it would have been great if when they pulled up to park and he just went perfect like that.
Carl Larkin.
Yeah, he's a throwback to Carl Larkin there as well. There's a couple of other films lower in the totem pole, one of which was one of the most monumental disappointments for me. I was a big Alan Moore fan. I thought you were going to say
Calendar Girls.
That as well. Very much the Cotswolds razzle. Isn't it? It really is, isn't it? I was a big Alan Moore fan, and I used to I was like, when a new because I remember buying League of Extraordinary Gentlemen as this first as just like a pure graphic novel, and then buying the individual comics each week, and then I would travel into Camden and buy them from one of the comic shops opposite the Electric Ballroom down a road down there. There was a little comic book store, Pre-Progress. I used to go there. So when the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen was being made into a film, which, you know, for like plot-wise, it's basically the Avengers, but with a whole load of like kind of characters from like Mina Harker and stuff like this. It was like one of those films. But my God, like it was such like a disappointment, this film. I don't know if anybody else went to watch. I went to the cinema to see this. The guy directed it was the guy who directed Blade, Stephen Norrington. Yeah. This was the film that caused Sean Connery to go into retirement because he had so clashed with him so many times. Norrington, I don't think, went on to make another film. He made a film called Death Machine, which I don't even know. I'm expecting Gareth may well have heard of it before. Have you heard of it before, Liam? Death Machine? Like kind of low budget.
It's like a horror, sci-fi horror sort of thing, like dystopians. I vaguely remember seeing it. I can't tell you.
It's not great, but it's got a good look. But like Norrington, when he directed Blade felt kind of like in its own weird way, like kind of like just a different aesthetic for something that was comic book based at that point in time. But this was just a fucking disaster, like an absolute disaster from beginning to end. It's just absolute.
I think I just remember the really bad reviews of this at the time, and it getting rinsed. Like never seen it.
Wasn't the story behind this that something like Connery turned down a role in The Matrix and saw how big The Matrix before, and then he turned down the role of Gandalf in Lord of the Rings. Mm-hmm. So he almost felt he had to take this role, and he took this role. But the thing was, he took so much of the money to be in this film that the rest of the cast kind of suffered, that they couldn't get any other big names in the film. Whereas in theory, they wanted to have like the 5 main characters, all big stars in Hollywood, whereas Connery took all the money.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the graphic novel, and it wouldn't surprise me in the future if somebody did a faithful adaptation of these. I mean, obviously Alan Moore won't be involved because that's just the way he is. He doesn't feel like his work can ever be adapted. I'm sure if you just pop into Northampton one day, he'll be pottering around the place as per bloody usual. But that was it. It was just full of production disasters. Like it's just sort of like these weird elements to it, where like they have like, I mean, he's Alan Quatermain, for example, who in the books is like this heroin addict. In this, he just plays Sean Connery. Dorian Gray is basically invincible, and unless you chuck his picture in front of him, and then he'll crumble. Like it's very Mina Harker isn't someone who just had a relationship with Dracula and has seen like the dark side of the world. She's just a fucking vampire who just turns into bats. It's just like, it's very, very weird. It's a very like kind of weird look aesthetic to it. And they've cut back on certain stuff, and it's just muddled production, muddled script. It's like if you went to watch the Avengers film with Ralph Fiennes and you just like watching that going like, what the fuck is this? I don't understand what's happening. That's how it feels to watch League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And to a certain extent, on the number 7 on the list as well, did anybody ever watch the remake of Texas Chainsaw Massacre? I say remake. It's actually a sequel, a direct sequel to the original. Anyone ever watched this one?
No, not at all. And I consider myself like a decent horror-ish fan, but wouldn't do it, JP. No, I hate even like the remake of Freddy they done and the Friday the 5th. I just got no time for them, JP. Genuinely haven't, but they're not going to be good. So why am I wasting my time watching it? The only one I did buy into was the Halloween remake. JP. The first one was pretty much, but then the second and third made genuinely like some of the worst I've ever seen in my life.
The third film is one of the worst, and it's like, I think Danny McBride co-wrote that as well. But for this one, it's just they basically gone, we'll do Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Basically, they find the girl who escapes in the first one, and then it's just like a new group of kids who go into exactly the same house, just with more gore. Because the thing you always remember from the original Texas Chainsaw Massacre is not much gore in it. It's not the kind of film where it's particularly, there really isn't a lot of blood. There's a lot of like kind of, and I would also recommend to no one watch the Monster, the Ed Gein film, which kind of taps into a bit of the lore about how Texas Chainsaw Massacre is made.
I love Texas Chainsaw though, JP, the original, one of the best. Unbelievable.
They don't watch, it's just the idea of like the guy who made it is a music video director, and you can tell that's the case because he's got no idea to handle a story.
We've got Freddie and Jason out there, which we fandom, like it's not great, of course, but it's that, as you say, it's this era of like tying in. Like I love the El Nino song off that. How Can I Live? You know, it's just tying in with what's out in the charts and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just bad, really bad.
It's weird for me because as I'm like looking at these like with this movie list. Like, and then I'm looking at like all the music and stuff like that, and I'm just like, what was I doing? I was like, because like I'm not buying any of this music. I'm not listening to these.
It's a bad list. This film's like
any of it. I'm looking at these films, and I think Kill Bill's the only one that I went to the cinema to see, kind of thing. You know, I think I've probably seen 3 films that's on this list. I'm like, God, what was that? I think I was just going to work and watching sport. I think at this point.
Checked out the business as well, aren't you, Gareth?
Yeah, because film wasn't. Yeah, I wasn't watching that.
You're drinking, mate.
Doesn't this coincide with you going into hiding after the Rugby World Cup?
You were getting Jimmy Corkle on, Gareth. Pool tables with Ben McLaughlin.
I think I was feeling kind of like I think the world's passing me by musically and film and stuff like that. I genuinely think I was feeling like that at the time. Like I felt like I was like, am I an old man at 25 or something like that? None of this shit resonates with me at all, kind of thing.
Can we say though, like we've said that if we've had good discussions in the past with the lists, and maybe we said, it's a bit weak. I think combined, lads, these are the 2 weakest lists we've had for film and TV. Music, I'd say. So anyway, combined.
Thanks, mate.
Not really. That's not a slight on you, Liam, because you've done amazingly, of course. But you know what I'm saying, don't you?
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to bring up a film.
The Brookside month. Is that what you're saying? You're having a go at me now?
It's more Gareth's fault than yours.
Well, on that note, I am actually going to bring up a film that I know Gareth will feel that certainly I would suggest is a bit of a classic, and that's Finding Nemo. Now, I didn't watch it at the time. Obviously, you wait till you're a parent and then you watch it. And the plot line of this tapped into every worst fear that I had. It's just like you're settled down, you're in a relationship, and then your partner and all of your children bar one die, and then your only living child basically gets kidnapped and taken to Australia.
Is that the script?
It's kind of like
Genuinely, I never
Taken
knew
in
that.
many ways, but just with fish. And like,
They're not reading off a script, Matty. It's a cartoon.
Disney's gorier than Texas Chainsaw, mate.
I know, JP.
it is.
This is
but
Michelson underwater.
There was a point I watched this with my eldest son, and there's a bit near the end where you think that Nemo is dead, and like it's hey, look, you go to a fish shop with small kids, they see these clownfish and they're like Nemo. It's like, yeah, Nemo. And there's a bit near the end of it where you think he's died when they're catching all the tuna. Gareth knows the bit about it. Have you lads seen it? Liam, Matty, have you seen Finding Nemo?
Yeah, I have seen it. I think I've seen it. I think it's been on it like Christmas or so when I've had it on in the background. Yeah, it is. One of those deceptively sad films. It's like Up.
Yeah.
I go into like watching films like that and be like, oh, it's a cartoon. It's fine. And if you come out of it, you're like, oh, hang on. But yeah,
Fucking shell shocked by it. But it is actually like, I mean, the sequel is a much lesser film, but I think
Isn't that Ellen's one, JP, the sequel? Finding
it
Dory,
is.
is it?
But the genie's out the bottle. Whereas in this one, it is like it's very, very good. It's honestly like kind of very well done. And like I always think of this as like it's one of those films. It's like Toys. It's not far off Toy Story for me. It's not Toy Story, but it's not far off Toy Story.
Yeah,
it's that level of like you watch this and go, "Nah, this is fucking great. Like this is a really good film," and it gets you in the feels at the end. Like I thought the bit where he died, I can just remember crying, just bursting into tears and going like God. And I felt the same way about Toy Story 3. Just like Jesus Christ, completely hits you. Really, really good film. I have to confess, the number 10 film, Calendar Girls, and In America, I've never seen. Has either of you ever seen those? I looked at Calendar Girls and I went, not watching that. I just thought I'd copy a Naive and look at the real stuff. I wanted to.
I have seen In America. It's Paddy Constantine. It's like one of his first big, and he goes to New York. It's a weird film. I don't know why I actually ended up watching it when I did, but it's directed by Jim Sheridan, who did My Left
In the Name of the Father.
Well, or Daniel Day-Lewis's best films, bar one. He kind of done. He was the playwright for that. And strangely enough, he also, if you've seen the trailer for this, Matty, it's a bit of a Irish man, small town boy goes to New York, and there's a bit more into the story. But he's also the director who done Get Rich or Die Trying as well. Which, if you look at his CV of movies, it sticks out like a sore thumb in terms of him doing that film.
And in recent years, he's become kind of obsessed, and he's a 5-part documentary for Sky about this real life murder of this French woman in Cork that happened. And the guy who they think did it, he died a couple of years ago as well. And to the point that his latest film about it is like a mock trial of this guy where they're going through all of this kind of stuff as well. It's a very weird kind of direction he's gone down. But I looked at this one, and I won't lie, I can remember thinking at the time, it's a couple of young kids in it. I'm not watching that. Like I'm just not gonna. It just feels like kind of it's far too kind of, I don't know, like kind of Irish and America style stuff. Maybe I'm just scarred from far and away, like, and that's just kind of like tarnished me for the rest of my life on this. What about Calendar Girls, lads? Any of you ever watched Calendar Girls?
Never seen it, JP. Never.
But we all know I mean, that's been like a massive hit in terms of it going to the West End.
Yeah.
Like, which is the route for a lot of these kind of like Kinky Boots and stuff like that, where they just find an audience of somebody can convert it to the stage and then just go, yeah, that'll just kind of work because it's relatively low budget enough. How about Seabiscuit? Did anyone ever watch Seabiscuit?
We on about our tier list again.
Did Seabiscuit win the Oscar? Did it win an Oscar?
I don't think it won the best.
Didn't win the film. No, didn't win the film.
No.
Would have been nominated.
I think it's a pretty good film, Seabiscuit. I mean, for what it is, I think it's a very good film for the story it's telling. it doesn't lean on like the melodrama and like the nostalgia of it. It has a little bit more to it than that. It's I don't
good
mind it as a
cast.
film. Yeah,
I
I don't
think-
mind it as a film.
I think I kind of more look at it as this kind of film it's what you call it's just a Gary Ross film. And Gary Ross would make like he made this, and what's the one where people are living in black and white and suddenly it becomes color, and these Reese Witherspoon and Tobey Maguire managed to go. I can't think of the name of it.
Pleasantville.
Pleasantville. There's a kind of level of schmaltz over the whole thing, and I think I looked at this and I went, "Well, he's going to win in the end, the horse, isn't he? Like regardless of anything else, I know where this is fucking going, and it's not one." It's not like the Saipan film where I know exactly what's going to happen, but there's going to be a bit of needle in that. This one's just going to be like triumph over adversity. And he says it discovered hope in an unlikely place. And when I see a tagline like that, that generally means I fucking checked out on here. And this is where I suppose
it's just MGF's favourite insult for Hangman Page, isn't it?
Yeah.
I was going to say, to be fair, Gary Ross is a writer of a great run of free films in the early 90s. He wrote Big. He wrote Mr. Baseball with Tom Selleck, and he wrote Dave with Kevin Kline, which we've discussed.
Dave. Yeah.
Which we've discussed previously on Time. Go back in the archives to find that episode.
Yeah, love Dave. Dave's a cracking
Sales move today, you
I was going to say you're getting commission off your own podcast.
On it today.
Love it, mate. Fucking
and
love
then
it.
this is my biggest confession of all. The number one film in the chart, Love Actually. I have made a conscious effort, and I keep it fucking quiet in this house. It makes me kind of worried that there's somebody listening outside the door. I've never watched Love Actually, and I want to see if I can get through life like I have done pretty much with Frozen as well, of never having to ever watch this.
That shocks me. Frozen, JP, with the kids.
I love Frozen. Spot.
Yeah, that shocks me.
There'll come a point. I get that. But and I watched Notting Hill, and I didn't mind that necessarily.
I didn't mind Notting Hill, to be fair.
But I looked at Love Actually, and I was like, I think there's a lot of stuff in this where it just feels like it's a whole load of. I think it's just my aversion to general Christmassy type films, and I look at this, and I'm just like, God, this just feels like the world's worst level of schmaltz.
Yeah,
and whatnot for this, but. Have you guys any good or let's just say strong feelings about Love Actually?
Never seen it, and I never will. I'm saying with you, JP.
I can say I don't mind Hugh Grant. JP just watched Heretic this week. I'll say that for the next. We'll say that for the next pre-show. But I went back and watched when I first got with Steph and that we were watching like Nottingham and all that. And as you said, don't mind Nottingham. That was good. But this is one I let
before you.
Yeah, this is one. Yeah, I always throw one of Christmas. I always throw RoboCop on at Christmas. You know what I mean? let's get back to basics.
Classic Christmas film.
Yeah, but this is one that I left it to it because I've just checked their letterbox and she's seen it. And as you say, JP, it just looked like at least it's just Julia Roberts, Hugh Grant. This just looks like too much of it, though, JP. Far-fetched, the Prime Minister. I know, the movie star, not but the Prime Minister, and then you got Liam Neeson. There's all this intertwining nonsense. No, I don't want to, Mr. Bean in there.
Do you know what? Just even looking at the trailer and just seeing everyone's
it looks shocking, doesn't it?
Like I just even hate everyone's faces. On the
pieced together. It just looks pieced together for me. Not like a proper film.
Does anything sum up avoiding a British movie as much as these four people? Colin Firth, Emma Thompson, Hugh Grant, and Bill Nighy. I cannot think of a film involving. I don't mind Emma Thompson. Emma Thompson's been good, and Hugh Grant with the right role when he's playing a complete enough arsehole. I think Hugh Grant's pretty good. But this schmaltzy, Hugh Grant sort of thing,
humbling Englishman,
And then Bill Nighy's kind of taken his leftover roles, hasn't he, in recent times, to be that like British gent, ever so nice, well turned out. And then you add Colin Firth into it, who's proper like Housewife's favourite. What was he? Pride and Prejudice or something?
Yeah.
You've got that whole cast.
Period dramas.
Not for me.
Downton Abbey, remember that? Oh no, I don't know.
Some of that was all right.
All right, Liam, come on, mate.
If it's anything that's posh people in love, I run 1,000 fucking miles from it. I don't care. And it's always
Well,
like, well, this
does the,
person's slightly richer than me.
Does the
and
rich,
therefore
does
we've
the
got to be
rich wife
miserable for the rest of our lives.
fall for
We can't be
the
together.
Gardner.
fall for the skin butler or the skin gardener? You know what I mean? Fucking hell,
Yeah.
lads. Fucking awful, isn't it? Any bad?
What's the one you're a fan of, Matty? Mole Flanders, is it?
I like Mol Flanders. She's all right, Mol.
Well, that takes us to the end of the top 10. There's only one other small note of quite a major event that happened at this point in time. And that was this is where film and politics enter together. I can't think of anyone who'd become famous on the screen would ever become president after Ronald Reagan. But Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Hollywood actor and bodybuilder, officially became California's governor after winning the October 7th recall election. And I remember there being a massive sense of overreaction to like, oh my God, this guy is going to be like, he's got all these like the same belief system as George Bush and everything else. Whereas these days, frankly, he governed as what a moderate Democrat would do.
Yeah.
Like in the way that like a Californian Republican, for the most part, outside of some of the parts of California, like Orange County and stuff, they tend to be quite middle of the road. And he's become like he's been reasonably outspoken about Trump and whatnot. And I think he won because there was like a series of blackouts that had happened around the power grids and stuff like that. And it turns out that some of that stuff was actually kind of staged by like various bad actors wanting to do stuff regarding kind of like energy supplies and whatnot. Not that Schwarzenegger had no part in it.
Because did an endoskeleton come up from one of the deserts and just fucking
see, that's it. Yeah. I mean, they basically saw Minnesota and it's like, well, I'll see your what's his name in The Running Man, the Jesse Venture. Captain, is it it's not Captain America or something. Like
Captain Mayhem or something, isn't it?
It's going to bother us. It's basically, I'll see that, and I'll give you Ben Richards as our governor for this. But yeah, do you guys remember this? Obviously,
just massive in it. I mean, I'm not a politics guy, JP, as you know, but just the governating in it just wrote itself, didn't it? It just literally wrote itself on the headlines. And I remember Terminator 3. We spoke about this. I think that's in our archive, isn't it, Liam? That was what. Where I was at this thinking, well, Arnie's back, and he had collateral damage in 2002, maybe.
Expendables was like his first big film back, wasn't it?
Yeah, so Terminator 3 was like his last one. It's like, he's joining back in the franchise, being in Terminator. But then obviously he had this run as the governor. Just
is it on Netflix? Is it that documentary about Schwarzenegger?
Yeah.
And it's all about this time and him not being taken seriously and the stuff from that. Like it's good, it's interesting stuff, isn't it? And
it's interesting, I think, to look back at it with the benefit of hindsight. He wasn't the worst by a country mile. There's been a lot worse career politicians who become governor than him.
I was going to say, is he held up, JP? Is he like not hated or nothing?
Yeah. I don't think there is. I think the idea is it's just he's one of these people who he would have been a Republican because he would have believed in low taxes, which tends to be like a staple of if you're very, very wealthy. Like low taxes is going to be your bread and butter. But when it came to social issues, like quite liberal, like that would have been the big things, like socially liberal, economically conservative, which weirdly is a message that tends to kind of resonate when it comes to elections. And that's what he kind of embodied. And then he had the name recognition and the star power. And he can't run for president because he's not born in the US. So this was as high an office as he was ever going to be able to get. But this is like the world's 5th largest economy. It needs to be reminded with California. It's such a ridiculously big state.
I was going to say, it's not just
governing the country.
Yeah, it's not like a lower state, is it? It's one of the big ones as well. So it's
like Jesse the Body in Minnesota.
Yeah. I think there was a lot.
Knoxville, isn't it?
I think there was a lot of hold up at the time as well. With is he married the niece of Kennedy? Is that right, JP? Maria Shriver. Is that
Maria Shriver? Yeah.
So I think everybody thought he would be very much strong towards that side, which I don't really think necessitated in the end, did it?
Can I throw in as well? I think his son's a good actor. I think his son's got. So he was in The White Lotus in the latest series of that as well. I don't think I've seen him in a couple of things. And I thought he's not that bad. He generally is all right, but I think is that the one he had in Junior? He
What a
did.
guy, though. Could we just end every episode of the time
Yeah.
just talking how good Arnie is? Can we just do that?
That's it.
Best filmography of any politician ever. Right.
Yeah, of course.
Well, absolutely. Yeah. I can't think of any. I mean, I haven't seen Vladimir Zelensky's comedy stylings in Ukraine, but maybe that can rival it. And what a lovely note, I think, to end this episode of Time. Yeah.
Great stuff,
I mean,
Liam. As always, thank you for the
Mate,
sport and the TV, mate, of course. Thank you.
God bless you for that one, Liam.
I'm joking, of course, Liam. Thank you for all the,
No,
of course,
thank
all
you.
the effort you put in, mate.
Yeah, thank you for watching it all, Matty. It's appreciated.
It was absolutely brilliant, as always. Brilliant curation on your part.
Of
Liam,
course.
And some brilliant stuff, like, across the board on here. Even if, hopefully, we'll get to a stage where music gets its fucking act together, just in general. And
I reckon we'd go back to 91 next time to get a bit of a remember that cassette list I sent you, Gareth, with all them fucking albums.
Yeah.
let's get back to the early 90s where we knew what we were doing, I'd say.
And the world was right.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So on that note, has anyone got anything that they would like to add before we wrap up?
Thanks, guys, and always enjoy this podcast. Liam, thank you very much.
No problem.
Yeah, cheers, Liam. Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. And all I have to say is, at the end of that, bye.
So that.
See you.
Yeah.